discussion with my friend Darin Lundberg about some of our favorite MGM musicals on this episode of the Movies Past and Present podcast. Hello and welcome to the Movies Past and Present podcast. It's October 12th, 2025, and this is episode 136. I'm your host, Stanford Clark, and I'm podcasting from the crossroads of the West in beautiful Salt Lake City, Utah. Just like my website, moviespastandpresent.com, I'll be providing recommendations, commentary, and reviews about current and classic cinema. Thanks for tuning in, and let's do this thing. My good friend, podcaster, and film aficionado, Darin Lundberg, joins me on the podcast today to discuss some classic musicals from Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer. MGM was the king of the movie musical, particularly during the 1940s and 1950s. And Darin and I had a great discussion about some of the MGM musicals that we respect and love. Here is my conversation with Darin Lundberg. I'm joined by my good friend and movie aficionado, Darin Lundberg. Hi, Darin. How are you?
Aficionado. I like that. Yeah, I'll take that. How are you, Dan?
Hey, I'm all right.
Good.
Good. So glad we could have this conversation. Darin and I have been kind of noodling around this for a bit, and I'm so glad we're going to record. We're going to be talking about MGM musicals, and the idea kind of came to me about this because, sometimes the world can be heavy. You watch the news and you just think, wow, this is kind of horrible sometimes.
Yeah, a little bit.
And, for me, when I'm feeling down, honestly, nothing makes me feel better than watching a classic Hollywood musical. And I really think that the musicals from the golden era of MGM, basically like 1930 to kind of the late 1950s, mid to late to 1950s, they cranked out so many, and I think many of them are quite good. So yeah. Darin and I both picked 4 films each that we thought were representative of, and films I think that we like too, right, Darin?
Yep.
That we like from the MGM musical golden era, or the Arthur Freed area, or however we want to call it. We're going to get into some of those details. But then we also picked what we're calling curiosities. So some things that some of them are just scenes from films, and I'm going to be putting these, links to these in the podcast notes on my website. But we'll be talking about them too. So 4 films and then some curiosities that we'll be bringing up. So the MGM musicals clearly, made at MGM Studios, and these musicals were, I think, can we safely say, Darin, that the majority of them were made in what was known as the Arthur Freed department. Arthur Freed was a producer there at MGM.
Right.
Am I saying that correctly, Darin? Is that how you see it, or am I'm not making stuff up?
Well, I think that MGM, obviously he was the main guy and had his roster of people. But yeah, obviously the Freed unit is something that's it's pretty much autonomous,
legendary
with the MGM musical, right?
Yeah.
Revolutionized the musical film genre. I mean, they inserted musical numbers into a narrative instead of being separate. I know that you watch a Marx Brothers movie. I always had a hard time with those because they A Night at the Opera or A Day at the Races, which are classic Marx Brothers movies. But they would stop the narrative and the comedy to do a musical number, and I always be like, "What is this?" Watching it as a kid, it's get back to the comedy. And then when you get older, you just understand that's the way that they're structured, right?
Yes.
And then a movie like Duck Soup, I like that one the best because it's a satire and also limits the musical numbers. It's mostly comedy, but anyway,
it's mostly comedy. I really like Duck Soup too.
Yeah. It's just the way that musicals were. They'd break into a song just to kind of have a break from the monotony of dialogue. I don't know. And so when the Freed unit and Minnelli and Donen, and who we'll be talking about, they just kind of basically found a way to, and it's weird that it's an innovation, that they integrated the musical numbers into the narrative, so that, what's the old saying? It's when you're in a musical and your emotions are too much to talk, that's when you sing. And when it's too much, your emotions are too much to sing, that's when you dance. And so it's kind of all the musical numbers kind of extend from the emotions of the characters. And that was pretty innovative for the time. That's kind of what the Freed unit was known for.
and again, the output of the free unit and the movie stars in the free unit were
Mhm.
really something, weren't
Yeah.
they? Uh, what uh, I guess should we dive into some of our curiosities from these films of this era? Should we start with that, or any other intro you think we should give before we start diving into some of these specific films?
Well, let me just say, it's pretty tough to take notes when you're watching a musical because you're too busy trying to soak in the dance moves,
I
and
know,
so
it's so true.
a 2-hour movie, and not that I didn't enjoy myself, but it would stretch into 3 hours because 'cause I'd have to stop, write my notes, and then watch the scene again, and so
Yes, yes,
2-hour movies are
exactly.
stretched into 3 hour but, again, it's that you don't wanna miss that little detail, the choreography and the emotion and the footwork or whatever, because that's the joy of watching a musical, right? So I just thought that was pretty funny. And then the other thing too is a lot of these musicals I noticed were using songs that were popular at the time instead of writing their own original songs, and
Yeah.
so one documentary I watched said these were the original jukebox musicals, like Rock of Ages or Mamma Mia, and I'm like, "That's interesting. I guess that makes sense." You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So, it's just weird
absolutely.
watching them from that point, that
Like
preview.
yeah, exactly. Well, I know we're gonna get into some of these specifics, which and that's true. Yeah, the jukebox musicals, it's not necessarily I mean, some were definitely the songs were written for the movie, right?
Yeah,
But otherwise, yeah, these were popular songs or songs that were used in earlier films
right.
that got put in. That's a really good point. One thing that I'd like to mention too, Darren, is that over the weekend I watched the documentary That's Entertainment. It was
Mhm,
made in 1974. It was celebrating the 50th anniversary of MGM.
hmm.
And have you seen That's Entertainment?
I've seen there's what, 3 or 4 of them,
There's
right?
three, yeah, at least three, if not four. Yeah,
And they're
this is the
basically
OG, which I
yeah,
think
yeah.
is the best.
Yeah, because 'cause you're obviously picking that's you got first dibs and everything, right? And
Right.
they're mostly just like a clip show,
Yeah,
right?
it's
And all the
it's a clip
musical
show, and this particular one from '74, they filmed it on what was left of the MGM studio backlot.
hmm.
And it's interesting because it's just mostly in decay, and then now it's homes and office buildings, I think, but it's no longer in existence. It's now currently the home also of Sony Pictures,
Wow.
and I've taken a tour. You can they have tours, and so you can actually see some of the places that still exist from the that you see in That's Entertainment. At least they're showing the remnants of the backlot, but it's nothing. Since backlots just really aren't used anymore.
Yeah.
Except for at Universal, which is with the tram tour. You know,
Mhm.
they do, right? This is theme park ride. But anyway, the that's entertainment. If you wonderful listeners, if you're just trying to kind of dip your feet into the MGM musical, that's a great place to start because the films are introduced by a lot of the stars that were living at the time. So Frank Sinatra, Elizabeth Taylor, Jimmy Stewart, Gene Kelly, Fred Astaire,
Mhm.
and that's special,
Yeah.
to see that. And then they just have curated a bunch of clips from these films these very films that we're talking about. They don't really go into a lot of detail about Arthur Freed per se, but we know the Freed unit was the one that was responsible for the majority of these films, and it's just this cornucopia of stars and talent and amazing scenes and a really fun way to again kind of dip your
Yeah.
feet into these movies, which sometimes the musical numbers are the best parts of the of the films. They get some obvious little scant on story and whatnot, right? But I highly recommend That's Entertainment from 1974
Yeah.
if you want to have kind of a thing, and then we'll get into some specific films. So I think that probably you and I both would recommend to people who are interested in movie musicals, right? To watch if they haven't already seen them, right?
Absolutely.
So, all right, Darren. Well, we had talked about some of what we're calling curiosities. So, why don't we go ahead, if you wouldn't mind, giving us your quote unquote curiosity film and why you picked it.
Okay. Well, it's funny because when I organized this list, the one that I'm moving to my curiosity wasn't originally my curiosity. I had another one that we'll talk about in a few minutes here. So the one that I originally chose as one of my 4 was the Broadway Melody 1929.
Yeah.
And this this moved down because we've talked in messaging and just off air here. It's not very good.
Yeah. It's
But the reason for
not.
this is that, and I again, when I'm weird because when I choose lists, I'm more of a take it from more of a historical kind of point of view and how things are molded at the beginning. And so when I think of a greatest film, I'll think of like the one that was the most innovative, right, as opposed to something that I love the most. So when I chose the Broadway Melody, I remember watching it like in the '90s, and yeah, I like that one. And then yeah, that's going to be one of my four because that's going to be fun to talk about, being the first like sound musical, the first movie, with first talkie to win Best Picture at the Oscars. And then watching the movie, I'm like, huh, this obviously this is this set the standard for a lot of the tropes that we see in musicals today. Like you're looking at like the show within the show, the cat fight between rival performers. You've got characters who explain their backstories as exposition. There's the new sound technology to create comedic effects, like something like stuff like that. And so it's weird when you think of it in that way, that yeah, every movie had to have like a close up, like the first close up, right? Every movie had to have the first point of view shot or the first shot reverse shot or the first edit. And you're like, that's weird that everything had to be thought of first. And so all these tropes that are well known in musicals today, it's funny to think of this movie as the one that introduced them. But the thing with it being, and it's funny because there's at least a couple movies that also talk about silent film and how they, in our list, that talk about silent film and how they switched over to talkies, right? And
Yes.
so it's fun watching this movie as a curio. I don't, like I said, I don't think it's a very good movie. I watched it this time going, this is not keeping my interest like at all.
Yeah.
And I think it's just because the production is so primitive. Like
Yes.
they were figuring out how to do sound. They couldn't move the camera a lot. And so even during the like the Busby Berkeley type songs and things like that, it's fantastic and you see movement, but the camera doesn't move. And so if something goes off screen, you lose whatever goes off screen, like actors or props or whatever. But then also like they had to learn how to do the sound stuff on the fly. Like when the ukulele scene with Bessie, it took them 3 hours to shoot that one shot because they couldn't synchronize the sound with it. So that's the kind of, and then when they would look at dailies and try to match, they wouldn't work. And so they had to go back and redo the sets and kind of push them back or forward to kind of increase like the sound quality. So it just, the whole movie feels like it's just, it feels like the first time you're seeing these things, not just the story, but also like the techniques,
Well,
right?
yes, and, if I'm not mistaken, Darren, I believe it was the first musical that
Yeah.
MGM released,
Yeah.
and it was the first all talking musical.
Yeah.
Is that hopefully I'm being correct, with those statements, but
Well, the Jazz Singer has the reputation as being the first talkie, but literally that's a silent movie with some talkie bits in it, right? You have Al Jolson obviously saying you heard nothing yet, but then the rest of the movie is a silent film.
that's true. Yeah, that's
This is
true.
the movie that's actually the first full on
The full-length
dialogue.
talking, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
no silent bits in it. The
right.
whole thing's talking. You know, regrettably sometimes, right? Because it's not that great of a film.
Yeah,
At least I didn't think. But also, it won the Oscar
right.
for Best Picture that year.
Right.
And you and I, again, we're kind of chatting about this, off air. But what's your take on that? Why do you think
Well,
that?
I'm a big pro I'm a big proponent of watching movies in context, right?
Yes.
Like, you cannot for I don't understand somebody that will watch King Kong and go, "These special effects aren't nearly as good as Jurassic Park." Because 'Cause I'm like, "Well, they didn't have the technology to be as good. What are you
Right.
talking about?" You know what I mean? And
Right.
you look at the way that they molded everything, and you see Kong and how he moves, and it's just it's so fantastic to watch because they're just and he's got so much personality, right? And so it's easy for me to watch movies within context. I'm like, okay, I've got to put myself in the time this was made because it doesn't apply to like 2025. But some movies are harder to do that with, and the Broadway Melody is one of them because I think, and again, I don't think it's its fault. They just didn't know what they were capable of story wise or filmmaking wise, right? And so they couldn't, in silent movies are very two-dimensional because you can't go like full on drama and full on three-dimensional depth with the characters, right? You only have like so much you can work with. And then as they integrated more sound, I imagine somebody that watched the movie in 1925, in 2025 their brain would just melt out of their head, you know what I mean? Because they
Yeah.
just don't understand. But for this one, like I said, it's not the movies and the filmmakers' fault because they didn't know what they could do and they were still figuring stuff out. The problem is you can't it's hard to watch it in context because it's not very there's not a lot of depth to it. There's not a lot of depth to any of the characters, any of the dialogue, any of the musical numbers, any of the choreo, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's interesting as a curio, and when you talk about it winning Oscars, just people weren't used to that at the time. This is, like, mind-blowing, a full-length talkie musical. Some theaters weren't even equipped with sound equipment, so they had to release a silent film version with interstitials, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you just got to imagine an audience in 1929 or 1930 when the Oscar, whenever they happened. But it's like, oh, we'd never seen anything, and it was huge. Like Louis B. Mayer, who ran the studio, obviously he didn't want to give it too much of a budget, so I think it was about $370,000 that it was made for, and it ended up grossing $4 million, which is huge for the time, right?
Yeah.
And that's just because people were like, "What is this? I'm not used to this. This is blowing my mind." And yeah, obviously, like 96 years later, it doesn't have the same effect, but I'm trying to imagine what it'd be like in 1929 sitting here watching Broadway Melody and seeing sound come out of these characters' mouths and dance numbers and tap dancing and all this. It must have been mind-blowing for the time, but yeah, it's really funny looking at it now going, "How did this win Best Picture?"
That's for sure. Yeah, I watched it on Turner Classic Movies, a while ago, just because I'd never seen it. And I knew it won the Academy Award, and I just historically it would be interesting. And yeah, I thought it was a real slog. But was there anything in it though that you thought, oh, this was fun, or this was clever, or anything that that stood out to you
It
in the
started off
film?
really well. There's a shot where they're in like a sound studio or a music studio or something, and a character's walking down a hallway where they have all these different offices where all these different musical like groups
Yeah,
or they're playing. And so he'd stop outside and they would cut inside. You'd hear the sound of the band playing. It'd cut back out, it'd be silent. He'd look the other way, you'd get inside, cut inside to this other office, then you'd hear them, and then he'd keep moving down the line. And I was like, oh, this is a fun way to kind of introduce what sound is. Like I thought that was very smart and a way to introduce it. And then obviously you get the two sisters that come in and the love interest and stuff. And you're like, by the time you've seen this movie, Stanford, like by the time we've seen it, we've already seen hundreds of movies, if not
yeah,
hundreds of musicals. And so
musicals. Yeah,
as soon as the story kicks in, that's when you're like, oh, like it's losing me because it's not really giving me anything that I haven't seen before. And again, it's so strange because it's not the movie's fault. They just didn't know what they were capable of. You know what I
yeah.
mean? But
No, really, yeah. Well said, Darren. The my curiosities are a couple of clips from films, because as you can attest to, Darren, I was my list was ever evolving as I was trying
yeah,
to figure this out.
as lists tend to be, right? As lists
Yeah,
tend to
that's true. And also, I think because I really do love so many of these films, it was just kind of a challenge to figure out which ones to pick. And so I thought that if and you were kind to indulge me, Darren, on this one, that I could pick a couple of scenes, but I think that they're indicative of the variety of what was going on at MGM.
yeah.
So the first one, I think we'll go from the sublime to, or maybe we'll go from the ridiculous to the sublime in this case. My first one is Million Dollar Mermaid,
Hmm.
which is from 1952. This starred Esther Williams. Now, honestly, I think I was introduced to Esther Williams when I watched That's Entertainment,
Hmm.
many years ago for the first time.
Hmm.
And the Esther Williams was uh, her musical films featured water. She was a swimmer,
Yeah.
and uh, and very pretty, very 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 attractive, and a decent enough actress, but always the plots revolved around some kind of swimming, and in these things were elaborate, and I think many of them, I don't think necessarily all of them, they were choreographed by Busby Berkeley,
Yeah.
who who choreographed all sorts of things for MGM, and I think some other studios too, if I'm not mistaken. But uh, holy smokes! Please watch this link. I'll put it in the podcast notes out on moviespastandpresent.com, because it's bonkers. All I can say is just bonkers. I think that's how I refer to it as you, Darren, when I send it your way. Just like, this thing's bonkers because it's like 7 minutes.
Mm.
And number one, the funny thing, and this is also a bit of a trope that gets used in some of these musicals, but supposedly this is all taking place on a stage, like in a theater, like there's a proscenium and there's an audience. But just the size and the scope of these water fountains, and there's giant swings and slides, and there's like 50 swimmers. And at one point, Esther Williams holds on, for the big finale, she holds on to this ring that takes her up, like 50 feet in the air or something. And below them, everybody's doing the Busby Berkeley things where, all the swimmers are in these concentric circles and moving their arms and stuff. Looks like a kaleidoscope, this human kaleidoscope thing.
Ooh,
and then she drops perfectly into the circle. And I mean, the whole thing is just, the camera angles are crazy. And it's kind of pure kitsch and pure delight. I just love it, and also it's kind of hard to pick an Esther Williams movie, but this one I think is almost the most outrageous. I think on one of them, if I'm not mistaken, Aaron, she broke her back on one of these crazy dives or drops or something, from one of these films.
It was this one, yeah.
Oh, was it in this one? Okay, that drop that I'm talking about when she's in the ring, right? There's just way up in the sky.
Well, it's not the one. The link that you sent me was, first of all, I wrote back. I was like, yeah, that was crazy. Like, did this bankrupt a small country? Like, how it's so elaborate. It's impressive. And I was like,
it's impressive.
That is crazy. Like, all the people coming in on swings and diving
and slides, like those water slides that they're going down on their feet, like they're skiing down these things.
Yeah, it's like if in the Greek Roman times, that they were more interested in like water sports instead of gladiators. That's what it would look like, right?
Yes.
It's not. I don't think it's in this scene. It's in a different one that I did see where she's raised up in this hydraulic like lift, and she's wearing this
that
crown.
gold lame, the crown.
Yeah.
And
she knew it was too heavy, but Mervyn LeRoy, the director, really wanted her to take that 60-foot dive, and so when she hit the water, she heard her neck pop. So she was paralyzed from like the waist up, which is weird. She could still kick her feet. How lucky is that? And so they had to lift her out. But yeah, she had to be in like a body cast for like 6 months.
For a while, right? I mean, it was horrible, yeah. All for the sake of art.
Yeah, with Esther Williams, I was kind of mad at myself because I didn't give myself enough time when because we were only talking about clips, right? I decided to do the research like today, and I was like, oh, I wish I had more time, because it looks like when you watch the movie, obviously it's like it's like an adaptation of Annette Kellerman's life story, who is a professional swimmer.
Yeah.
And so when you see Esther Williams, me not being familiar with her, when she's taking those dives, I was like, oh, that's obviously a stunt person, right? Because I didn't know who Esther Williams was. But no, it's her. She's a competitive swimmer.
Yeah.
And so it's funny that they just integrate, because she was so, I could tell, like, you could watch these, like me watching it must have been what a 1929 audience felt watching the Broadway Melody, right? It's like, what is, like, I'm not used to any of this. And so, yeah, I can just imagine the Aqua musical subgenre, like, would they just have like 5 or 6 movies and they all starred Esther Williams? But it's
exactly
too, because I love that you brought up that all this is supposed to take place on a stage, because there are moments. There's a moment in a couple of the movies we're going to talk about where I'm like, how is this going to be on a stage? Like, it's supposed to be a Broadway show. How is this? You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's cinematic, but it's like, I don't understand how you're going to show this on an actual. So I just thought that was. You're watching a musical, right? There's a level of like stuff that you accept, and so yeah, it's just fantastic watching Busby Berkeley trained dancers and swimmers like dive off, like you said, slides and swings. That's what you watch it for, not for the logic, right?
Well, exactly. And really, honestly, for me, I think the cinematography is very impressive with these, and very just inventive, like the camera angles that are used, and again, what he's having all the people and all the dancers do. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure it was torture, probably filming these scenes, but wow, they dazzle, and I would figure that they dazzled audiences too.
Yeah,
otherwise I don't think they would have kept making them, right? But the Esther Williams, I love that. It is kind of a subgenre of the Esther Williams aquatic musicals are really something. The other thing I picked as a curiosity, So I'm a big fan of Stanley Donen. We're going to be talking the rest. The director Stanley Donen, who collaborated a lot with Gene Kelly, but he also did some outstanding films on his own.
Mhm.
Uh, but this is one of his films, and he always did stuff in a very inventive, clever way. I think he was really good with his camera
Yeah.
work,
Mhm.
and nothing's shows it off more than the film in Royal, or the scene from the musical Royal Wedding, which is from 1951. That starred Fred Astaire. Uh, Fred Astaire dances on the ceiling. This is pre Lionel Richie, um, but you got to look up too, because there's, I think, how this scene was filmed, because it was on a rotating set.
Yeah, speaking of innovative camera work.
Yeah, with a
Holy
stationary
cow.
camera, and I mean, clearly you can tell something's going on the way Fred is moving, but it's almost like there's one cut, at least in the middle of it, and Fred literally dances on the ceiling of this room, and it's movie magic. It's so delightful. It's so delightful. And I can't say that I love the film, although it does have a couple of other really tremendous dance scenes in it. But wow, just brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Have you seen Royal Wedding 2, Darin, or what's your take on this on some of Stanley Donen's work in this
Well,
film or genre?
I think Donen's right up there with Minnelli or, whatever other, musical guy, right? I
Yeah,
think he's right up there because he had his finger dipped in all of, like, the major stuff. Royal Wedding is it's like when you picked it originally, I was like, I don't
I don't really love the film.
yeah,
I
it's
really
a little
don't.
stodgy, right? And
Yeah,
it's got Fred Astaire and Jane Powell as brother and sister, which is interesting because I guess you could look at it as biographical. Like, obviously, Fred danced with his sister Adele when he
yes,
so that's what it is. And then he engages in a romance with Sarah Churchill, Winston Churchill's daughter, and that's who you're dancing on the ceiling for? I'm like, "Whoa, she must be a really good conversationalist," right? And the movie's
I know.
fine, but the thing is, you cannot talk musicals. You can't talk MGM musicals. You can't talk musicals, period, without talking about the what is it? You're All the World to Me, right? That's the song. But it's called, we know it as the Dancing on the Ceiling,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Obviously Lionel Richie did Dancing on the Ceiling. Inception, there's a very famous action sequence
Oh
in there that
yeah,
copies that, right?
good call. Yes.
And it's like you said, it's all in a rotating set. But and what you said is interesting because, like, yeah, you can tell something's happening, but when you watch a stare, you're not so much watching for the how they did it. It's just you're what because you what like how they did the technology. How does he move his feet? Like, how does he move his body? And so that's really what it's still movie magic, even though after a while, oh, they're just rotating the set and he's moving kind of awkwardly sometimes. But it's like, yeah, but he's figured this out. The thing that's magic is, even though you've got Stanley Donen, who's great, you've got Fred Astaire that steps in and goes, oh, I want to add a little bit of my own magic to it, right? I think
Yeah, yeah,
I think Astaire wanted to do something like this since the 1920s. Like, he was interested in getting, and so finally so again, it feels very personal. And like I said, Royal Wedding's fine. It's okay. It's not the greatest, but you cannot talk musicals without talking that scene. That might be up there with the Singing in the Rain, with Gene Kelly's Singing in the
yeah,
Rain
yeah.
theme.
I would agree. And Fred Astaire has another scene in that film where he's dancing with a coat rack. You might have seen
Wow.
clips
Yes.
from that too. And same thing again.
Yeah.
Just Fred Astaire's tremendous artistry and skill as a dancer, and bringing this coat rack to life, basically. uh, and Stanley Donen, who just knew how to film a dance sequence,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I think that's such a huge part of it too. Is just the way that the camera moves and keeping it focused on the dancing, and basically the whole body as well. I think that's such an important part of it. It's tremendous. There was just such tremendous skill and artistry involved with it. It's really impressive. So yeah, I can't
Well,
say that the movie is that fun to watch, but that for that scene alone, it's
yeah.
worth, for the quote unquote dancing on the ceiling scene. That's it's worth it, I
Well,
think.
even even if the movie isn't great, you see him dancing with that coat rack too, right? You know that a scene in a movie has made impact when you see somebody copy it later on. I think for Stop Making Sense, I think the Demi Talking Heads concert movie, you see David Byrne dancing with a coat rack, right? That's an obvious homage to what Astaire did. So it's definitely, had impact, not just the dancing on the scene, but everything that basically Astaire did, right?
Yeah,
It's just
yeah,
it's lovely seeing. And again, I just want to say about That's Entertainment, you've got so many people that aren't really interested in musicals, like, and have a hard time with them. I think That's Entertainment is good because you can show this to people and they'll be like, what is this? Like, how did they do that? I want to watch the movie that's in, right? I think that might have been one of the, like, the points of those documentaries, is basically getting people interested in musicals because they're giving them all the great parts that'll get them kind of to branch out, right?
yes, exactly. And just also for clarification, there are, we think, at least three, if not four, right? That's entertainment films, because I think this first one in particular was very popular. I think it was a
Right.
huge hit,
Yeah.
and so again, as studios are wont to do, like when something's good, like let's make it again. Uh, and each
And
each
again,
each
and again.
one, yeah, and again, and I think each film goes almost like it's like deep cuts, and uh, it can be fun and interesting, but I think it was hard to beat the magic of that first one. So if you're going to watch one, I would recommend
Yeah.
watching that one for the original from 1974. I know that sometimes Turner Classic Movies plays That's Entertainment as part of their New Year's Eve
Mm.
programming,
Okay.
and that's been fun. I mean, I know that sometimes I that's what I've done on New Year's Eve, is watch has watched That's Entertainment, even though I can't say I enjoy the other ones as much as I do the first one, but still, it's a
Yeah.
fun way to ring in the new year if you're a movie slut like myself. So,
Sounds fun.
yeah,
The sled
yeah.
thing and the countdown thing sounds fun.
Yes, yeah, exactly right. So, Darin, let's dive in now to then our these four films that each of us have picked. Kind of feel for like four films that we enjoy, but also representative, we feel, of this point in movie history going on here with the MGM musical. What have you got then? What did you pick for your kind of quote unquote number four? Even though this isn't really a ranking, so I hate to give it a number, but that you put in this number four slot.
Well, I guess I'm gonna put these in order of how, like, I was entertained by them, like my level of enjoyment, right?
Yeah.
And again, I just called myself that as a historian, like, mostly look at the history of stuff before, like, personal, like, more modern taste, right? But I'm gonna and this is the thing with lists, is they're just gonna switch up. And even looking at my list now, I've just decided to switch something because I'm like, "Oh, it's just more interesting to move my number 4 to number 3 because I've got much more to talk about," you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I'm gonna move my number 3 down to my number 4, and
Excellent.
it's
Okay.
again, nothing against the movie. It's Gigi from 1958,
Yeah.
and we're looking at the Vincente Minnelli. How do you pronounce his name?
I think it's Vincente. Yeah.
Okay,
In,
Vincente
in
Minnelli.
Italian, because I lived in Italy for a while, it'd be Vincente. But I don't
Vincente.
think we don't want to be obnoxious like that. So
No,
let's
no. Vincente Minnelli. Okay,
Vincente
so it's
Minelli.
directed by Vincente Minnelli, and it's
Yeah, Vincente, I think is good.
yeah.
I personally, hopefully, film historians won't come after us.
Right. Screenplay by Alan J. Lerner, who's going to write a couple of the other movies we'll be talking about. I picked this one because this one, again, looking at Broadway Melody as being like an Oscar winner, and kind of a curio more likely. And then by the time Gigi came around, like musicals in 1958, musicals were bread and butter for this is what you went to go see for the spectacle and the fanaticism of everything. You're watching this to kind of be whisked away, like you said. So I picked Gigi because, yeah, it's a big Oscar and it won 9 Oscars, everything it was nominated for. It's got Marie Chevalier in it, that kind of thing. It's got Leslie Caron, Louis Jordan, which is weird because I can't imagine. The first note I had is like, I can't look at Louis Jordan without thinking of Octopussy. Like, that's where I feel like is introduced to him, right? Like
Yes,
sucking the juice
exactly.
out of a lamb's eyeball or something
You're like,
like that.
what? He's this romantic lead, you
Right. Doesn't
know?
age, he looks exactly the same, like
He
30
does
years
look the
apart. Like,
same. Like he
this is
doesn't age
crazy.
at all.
But this is, I mean, it's very traditional. Like, if you're gonna go and watch a musical, you wanna see something that's got the splendor, or the splendiferousness, if you wanna get obnoxious again. You're looking at the scope of everything. It's a huge musical, like tons of extras, a moving gliding camera, right? Like I said, Maurice Chevalier is in it, right? And it won Oscars. You look at it, you're like, oh, this is definitely an Oscar-winning film. It's funny though, because when I think of musicals, I think of these grand, like talking about Esther Williams, you're thinking about these grandly choreographed stage like musical numbers. Gigi doesn't have any of that. It's more just like a romantic comedy
It's a
drama that has
romantic
songs.
comedy and really kind of a character study, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's a lot like My Fair Lady. I know Arthur Freed, he first proposed like a musical adaptation of this novella that Colette, I think that's her name, Colette just wrote like again early on, like when he during the Philadelphia screenings of My Fair Lady in 1954, he was like, "Oh, I want to make another movie in this style," right? And so it's just like that. It's a very like a comedy or a drama of manners. You see this courtesan in training, you see all these rich like playboy kind of guys. And yeah, they occasionally break into song, but like again, it's very sumptuous is what I would use. Like the colors are rich and the set design is rich. There's this great shot where they go out. I think Gaston brings Eva Gabor of all people, Leanna. He brings her out to this restaurant, and as each person comes in, who's the talk of the town, this new rich guy comes in with his new mistress. The music cuts out. It cuts and it shows everybody watching them come in. And as the couple walks in, the crowd starts whispering to each other, like gossiping, like in sing speak, right? And then they walk past, and then it happens again, and it's like this took a lot of organization to put this together. This is a huge shot, you know what I mean? And but
Yeah.
that's bread and this is typical for musicals around this time. There are these big, giant, splendiferous kind of you know spectacles that you'd go and see. And so yeah, it's more of a drama, and there's not really a lot of huge musical numbers, but it still has that My Fair Lady feel, this big best picture feel. And so yeah, when you think of best picture musicals, Gigi is the one that obviously comes to mind for me.
I really love Lerner and Lowe music.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like it disappoints at all in Gigi. I think I believe I was most likely introduced to Lerner and Lowe from My Fair Lady.
Mhm.
I know that was one of my parents, a film that my parents really enjoyed, and they introduced us, to the family to it too. And I Gigi, I think again has a bit more of I mean, it's by no means just like only for grown-ups, but I think I think I remember seeing Gigi and I don't think I understood it as a kid,
Yeah.
which is probably just as well. But the whole courtesan concept and all this stuff. But yeah, I just feel, and also made because it was in 1958 too. Again, kind of near the tail end, right,
Yeah.
of this run of these great MGM musicals.
Interest was waning around this point.
You're
Yeah, yeah.
right, but yet the art form was at its peak. I mean,
Yeah.
in a way, I mean, I don't know, maybe it was pinnacle. I don't know quite what would be the right word, Darin, but it's so beautiful. It's so beautifully made.
Yeah.
Don't you understand? I mean, everything. I mean, it's filmed on location in Paris,
Yeah.
right? A lot of the at least I think with a lot of the exteriors and maybe a lot of it
But
was
some
on.
of the back projections were shot in Paris, you could tell. So it's
Yeah,
still counts, yeah.
I guess it really has a feel, right, that you're in Paris, even though maybe it's even on the MGM backlot
Yeah, yeah.
or on the sound stage.
Yeah. No, it feels very Parisian, right? And I love the CinemaScope, the way that it's shot. Again, this was not a lot of these, maybe a few of them are shot in this widescreen CinemaScope, and so that really shows off. You can have hundreds of people in a shot versus just like 7 or 8 people, right? And so there's just a scope to this thing. And by this time, Minnelli was just a master at this. Like again, one of the first notes is, "Holy mackerel! How many musicals did Minnelli direct?" Because
Yeah,
his name kept popping up. But it's like,
yeah, a
yeah,
lot.
if you're
And
going to
we're going to be
hire a
talking
guy,
about a lot of them too.
yeah, yeah, if
Right?
you're gonna give a giant budget to this movie, and again, Gigi was not based on a previous play, it was based on a novella, so all like the Lerner and Lowe songs are original to the movie. I like the story, like with when they wrote Gigi, I think Lerner was on the toilet And then Lowe started playing, like, they were trying to figure out the title tune. Lowe was on the toilet, and Lowe started playing the piano, and when he hit on a certain melody, Lerner jumped up, like, his pants still around his ankles, and he ran out, he's like, "Play that again!" And so and so
Wow.
that's where they came up with Gigi. It was just one of those things, like, inspiration just comes to you in the weirdest places, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's an original-ish musical, and it's based obviously on something that's been popular. It's got original music. It's giving you again, a Paris, kind of feel, like it feels lush and all these things, and it's giving you, they don't really dive into what a courtesan is, and I guess they had to fight with the Hays Code to get the story out, so they have to, like, dance around what that is, but it's still more of an adult story.
Yes.
But it's about very old-fashioned ideals. It's about this playboy that realizes, "I don't wanna be out there playing with all these women that don't care about me," and it's like, I just wanna be with someone I'm gonna have fun with, and I just don't wanna have her as somebody that I sleep with. I wanna be able to live the rest of my life with her. It's that kind of old-fashioned feel. It's a very, I don't know, it's a warm comfort musical. This is what you know what I mean? This is what you expect when you wanna sit down and watch a grand Hollywood musical. I think this one
Yeah.
slots in perfectly.
I think I agree with you wholeheartedly, and again, such beautiful production design, which I think was a real trademark of Vincente Minnelli, that he, or maybe we should just call him Vincent, just call him,
Liza's
but
dad.
yeah, Eliza's dad, Judy Garland's ex, um, that, because he if I'm not mistaken, I believe that Vincent Minnelli got his start he was a set designer at Radio City Music Hall,
Yeah.
and I think just again his wonderful eye and just use of color and texture in his films is such a is such a for me this is a selling point. It's just like if I see that Vincent Minnelli is directed, I want to watch it, even though sometimes and he's had some sneakers. Uh, I know that I recently saw one that it was called 2 Weeks in Another Town, if I'm saying it right. It was not a musical. It starred Kirk Douglas. It was
Mhm.
filmed in Italy, and I was thinking, oh wow, okay, yes please, it's all the above. It's Vincent Minnelli, Kirk Douglas is in it, and it's the most horrible film. Um, uh, but in some ways, it's because it kind of brings you down to earth. Like, yeah, not all these movies that these wonderful artists made were perfect.
Yeah, not everything's fixed.
Some of them were terrible.
Right, right,
But
right.
Gigi is a lush, wonderful. It's a beautiful. I thought it was a great choice,
Yeah,
Darren.
it does, like I said, it doesn't break any, ground or anything like that. It's just what you expect from a musical. There's some innovations. I like when, Gaston is, again, he's out with Eva Gabor, Leanne, and I thought it was interesting a choice because he's obviously, like, can tell that she's having an affair with this other guy, and she's not interested, and so he starts singing in his head. And I was like, "Oh, that's interesting that they're not gonna actually," because in musicals, there's that separation between reality where you're like, "Oh, they can just sing, and I'll just assume that people can't hear them. It's just a representation of a background,"
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
But he does. He doesn't he sings it in his head. I'm like, "Oh, that's interesting," and also kinda dull, like, why would they do that? But then when she leaves the table, he breaks out and starts singing, like, with his voice, like, with his mouth. And then when she comes back, he closes his mouth and starts, like, immediately, and starts thinking, "Oh, that was interesting." I thought that was very
I
fun to
love that.
watch.
Yeah, that's really great to watch.
Yeah, and
And
then, like, the locations and stuff, when he's, again, I think it's great when he's walking around and he's like, "Gigi, I'm in love with Gigi, right? I can't," and I'm gonna pronounce these wrong, but you literally see him in the Pont Alexandre and the Parc Monsieur or whatever,
yeah,
where it's the fountains in the background and the trees, and it's, "Oh, this feels like," doesn't feel like a set. This feels like they're on location.
yeah,
And then later they repeat the same shot after she's dressed up and she's an adult and she's acting like a courtesan, and he's like, "I don't want this." And he takes her back home and she cries. And then he goes back out to the same exact location in the exact same shot. And he's just singing it again. He doesn't sing, but you hear Gigi play on the soundtrack of the score. And you can tell he's reassessing what this means. Like, yeah, I fall in love with her, but what version did I fall in love with? Right. And I like that dichotomy of those two shots. Again, it's very cinematic and story wise. It makes it looks good, and it's kind of appeasing to my critic brain, I guess, that they would actually put that kind of,
yeah.
kind of thought into it. And then
Thought
obviously he
into
goes
it.
and says, "I'd like her hand in marriage. Let's not do this whole thing, right? Just use her as a mistress that she can be thrown to the street and become somebody else's mistress. I don't want that for her." So it's, yeah, it's a very good kind of adult themed drama that's also in a musical, lush musical form.
In a wonderful musical. One thing that I think, as you mentioned here, that I think is really interesting about Gigi is that it's yeah, it's a musical, but it's original for film because some of these musicals, like one of the next ones that I'll be putting on this on for my list, it's an adaptation of a Broadway musical.
Yeah.
Yeah, film adaptation of Broadway musical, and how cool that we got an original, an original musical that was done originally, done for film
Yeah.
in this case, and also not a jukebox. It's not
Yeah.
a jukebox musical, and
Right.
nothing against jukebox musicals because I love them, but I just think that's I think it's a unique part about this film. So again, I'm so glad you picked it.
Yeah. Well, there's a mix of different within musicals. There are different mixes of types of musicals, right? They're not all one thing. That's what makes film interesting. The kind of the contrast and comparison.
My fourth, again, not that we've really ranked these, maybe except for our number ones, right? But it's Kiss Me Kate, which is a film adaptation of a very popular stage play at the time. This came out in 1953 and directed by George Sidney. And it's if you've never seen or heard of this play, what it is, it's kind of let's put on a show. No, it's not. It's not a Mickey Rooney, Judy Garland kind of thing. But basically,
Yeah.
it's a show within a show.
Mhm.
So they're putting on a production of Taming of the Shrew,
Mhm.
and what you're getting is like the behind the scenes of what's going on with the actors in the creation of of putting on the Shakespeare play of Taming of the Shrew, and it's musical. The music is by Cole Porter,
Mhm.
who's a favorite
Mhm.
of mine, and it stars Catherine Grayson and Howard Keel and Ann Miller, and I just think it's just pure delight.
Mhm.
One little bit of trivia on this film is that it was filmed. They filmed it twice, and once was for 3D.
Yeah.
And I believe I've seen the 3D version that they showed. No, actually, I think I saw it actually at the Turner Classic Movie Film Festival. They showed it on the big screen in 3D and gave everybody 3D glasses to watch it. And it's just gimmicky. The 3D is absolute. I mean,
Yeah.
it does not enhance it at all, but it was fun. It was just kind of a clever thing that they, something that you would kind of expect or hope for just to experience it at a film festival. But I I think these actors are great. I love them again, as I mentioned, the Cole Porter music. Also of note too is that it has some really great dance scenes,
Mhm.
and Bob Fosse, a very young Bob Fosse, is in this film
Yeah.
too. And uh, anyway, it's a favorite. Well, what do you think of Kiss Me Kate, there?
Well, this is my first time watching it. Like you said, the 3D stuff. I always love watching three movies that were made in 3D when they're not in 3D. There's a part where Howard Keel is pointing a banana at the screen. It's like I don't,
Yes,
I don't think you'd do that if it wasn't 3D. That kind of thing.
right, exactly.
And then I like again the show within a show is really fun. This is the movie that I was really thinking of when they finally are giving you the production, right, and they're finally on, and it does a camera shot. It has Keel in the front, and then it like has some lights that go on in the background. And everything is illuminated, and then the camera moves, and that's the one where that's the note I have is like how is this supposed to be presented on stage? Like I get that it's really dramatic, but
Yeah,
how is this? And it works for me here, but like on stage, how does this play? You know what I mean? And
yeah.
the like I said, every Catherine Grayson, Howard Keel, like I said, Keenan Wynn is in this, James Whitmore, they're really
James
fun.
Whitmore, yeah, who kills it. Yeah,
And
yeah.
so all these actors are really giving their all, and it's really fun. And it's obviously great hearing Keel. We're going to be talking about him again in a little bit, but like just hearing his bass kind of just shatter
He's
the
he's
shake
got
the room.
he's such a great singer. I think I really I love it when Howard Keel sings. I can't say I love Catherine Grayson's singing voice as much, but she's so pretty, and
Yeah,
it's just it's such. I mean, just they're movie stars. This
right.
is they're movie stars.
The I Hate Men number isn't so much her voice; it's just having fun watching her destroy the set. You know what I mean? Just throwing
Oh,
tantrums.
she's so great in that. Yeah.
And then with the 3D, the notes I had is number 1, when Keel comes out in his leotard, I'm like, "Oh, I bet the women had fun with that." You know what I mean?
I know.
And then
They've
when
got
Ann
these
Ann Miller
tights
comes
on.
out and she sings, what is it? It's the
Too
Hot,
darn,
right?
too darn hot.
Too Darn Hot, and I was like,
Yeah,
"Oh, this must have played great in 3D." I would have loved to see this in
yeah,
3D.
yeah. It
But
was fun.
yeah,
I was having seen it 3D there. It was
yeah,
fun. Yeah,
like I said,
yeah.
the 3D doesn't it's not really a detriment. You just kinda laugh at it because, like,
It's
oh, they're just trying to
gimmicky
get
and but just delightful. Yeah,
colors and everybody's the songs and, again, the colors, I'm gonna keep mentioning that. It's
yeah.
so colorful and it's
The
so
it's really, yeah, really cool production design. I think on this one
yeah,
they really went for something unique.
right.
Yeah,
And even though I think because the main thing is with, Lily and Fred, they're like a divorced couple, and obviously they're gonna get back together, but there's nothing unfamiliar about that, but I even though, like, the I don't know if Taming of the Shrew really ties into that subplot, they take some huge breaks from the main plot to show us
I
the Taming of the Shrew, but the
know.
thing is, it's so well done that you don't care, you know what I mean? It's like, "Okay, this I'm just watching for I'm not watching so much for the plot as I'm watching for the actual, the musical numbers and the dance moves and the singing." So, it reminds me of when I watched Mary Poppins again for the first time since I was a kid, and they kept cutting away to Julie Andrews' face, where any other movie would do that, I'd be like, "Stop doing that, that makes no sense," but every time they'd cut to Julie Andrews' face, I'd be like, "Ah,"
I
I don't know.
know.
And so
It just makes you feel so good.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
it's the
just so
same thing
darn.
here.
Yeah,
It's like, yeah, show me the musical numbers. Oh, that's right, there's a plot. Oh, these gangsters are also on set trying
yeah,
to catch money, like
gangsters.
yeah, and they gotta be a part of the play, that's all fun, but it's like, how does this all tie in? It doesn't really tie
Yeah,
in on
it kind of doesn't.
it's so fun though. I don't wanna knock it, I'm not. You know
Oh
what I
no,
mean?
because again, the plot again, it's almost like the plot is paper thin. I feel like it's for the song, it's for the musical numbers,
Yeah, it's a clothesline, right?
and this great cast, this great way to put it. And these Cole Porter songs, I just Wunderbar, So in Love, as we mentioned, Too Darn Hot,
Why Can't You
from
Behave?
this moment on.
Yeah,
Um, anyway, on and on. I think every musical number is a home run in this movie, and yeah, and I've never seen a stage version of it, so I don't know how much this film got modified, from the original stage play.
right.
But I sure love it. I'm sure glad it got made.
Yeah. Well, I also want to point out, like, there's some fun camera shots in here. Like George Sidney, obviously the director. There's what is it during Wunderbar? You keep seeing Fred and Lily dance in and out of frame, like in the background through rooms and things like
Yeah,
that. I
that's
thought that
really
was really funny.
fun. Yeah, they're
When
like, yeah,
Lily's boyfriend shows up, there's a part where they each walk into a door and it slams in his face. He goes in, the next person it slams in his face. So I thought that was very clever. It made me laugh a lot of time. There's another part where Fred is listening in to a conversation that Lily's having, and somebody opens the door and he falls into the room and automatically like sits up. It's got a lot of great physical comedy too. I just want to point that out. It's very creative in a lot of the way that it's structured.
and again, these great actors can pull it off, right?
Yeah,
Howard Keel is so
in their
good.
sleep, you know what I mean. Some of these
Right.
in their sleep.
And it's one of those two. I think that Katherine Grayson and Howard Keel have got a lot of great chemistry, and you can kind of see why this couple still has feelings for each other, even though
And she
they're
slaps him.
claiming to hate, yeah, they're
It's
claiming to
very
hate each
funny.
other.
It's great.
And she's going to run off with that Texas billionaire or whatever, right? Yeah. Uh, so fun, so fun, and again, maybe not necessarily fully representative because I think in a lot of ways it's different, but wow, if you're gonna watch a musical, might as well watch one, with music by Cole Porter.
Yeah,
Is what I have to say.
no kidding.
What's your number three? Again, not that these are necessarily ranked, but your third film that we
So
were going to talk about.
this one was my curiosity at first because I've never seen it. It's weird that it's made in 1981 and it's not
Yeah,
considered an MGM musical. And
MJ musical.
I even text you. I'm like, "Does this count?" And you're like, "Yeah, it's part of the MGM."
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's Pennies from Heaven from 1981, directed by Herbert Ross, and it's adapted from a 1978 TV series by Dennis Potter. I guess it's 6 episodes. It's the same thing. It's like Depression era type musical where these characters that are out down in their luck just break into songs and things like that. So it's based on that. I think Steve Martin saw it and thought it was one of the best things he'd ever seen. So they actually adapted that for like American audiences. Again, it's weird that it's 81. It's so late. And that's why I chose it as a curiosity because it seemed like and again, it's a remake. From everything that I'd heard, it's kind of again a curio, something that's more interesting than enjoyable. And so I was like, yeah, I'll have. I've always wanted to watch Pennies from Heaven. I'll have that as my curiosity. And then watching the movie for the first time last night, I didn't know. I was like, what is this? Like, I don't. I. It's very strange hearing Ruth Eddings' voice come out of Steve Martin's mouth. Like,
I know.
we know that a lot of people are dubbed. Like Marty Nixon obviously was a huge, like, someone that would come in and kind of save that. We've seen movies. We'll be talking about a movie that does the dubbing for actors when they can't sing. But it's so weird because we know that actors are dubbed, but when Steve Martin he breaks out in that song, and it's like, why is it a woman's voice coming out of his mouth? Your brain is automatically switches, and you're like, I'm watching something different. So this is, like I said, this is the last full musical I watched. So after watching all these grand traditional classical musicals and then seeing this, it kind of rewired my brain, Stanford. I didn't when I was watching it, the I don't know. I want your experience with the movie too. But as you're watching it, it's not very fun. Like the first time I was watching it, going, I don't know if I'm enjoying this. I don't know why they're lip syncing to songs that aren't like the same gender. You know what I mean? Is it something about like gender politics? Are they playing on that? Is it all these different things? And so and the fact that it's based in depression era and you have all these down on their luck characters who are not so much expressing themselves through song as imagining expressing themselves through song. That's how pathetic their lives are, that they can't actually do that. They have to pretend at it. And then it's a depressing movie that ends in a way where it's like, we can't end like this. Let's end with a big grand musical number. We can't end with the main character getting hanged. You know what I mean? It's very, and that's what I mean when I more that I've thought about it, the more that I've really appreciated it and liked what it was doing. And it's more, I don't know, it's more interesting to talk about. What's your experience with Pennies from Heaven?
You
Since mine
know,
was so
I
new.
think it's such an interesting film, and I'm so glad you picked it because uh, number one, I think when I saw it for the first time, I mean, I think I had read some stuff about it, tried to keep it, somewhat spoiler free, and and this has been a
Oh,
few years ago when I saw it for
I
the
ruined
first
the
time.
ending. I already ruined the
Yeah,
ending.
sorry, spoiler alert, everybody. You're good. I thought, number one, you'd think there was Steve Martin attached to it, that it's going to be a comedy.
Yeah. This was his second movie after The Jerk.
Yeah, it was the second week after The Jerk, and so again, same thing. It's just like, okay, this is going to be like a musical version, or something, of The Jerk, and then it is such a complete opposite. I think it's an artistic tour de force. It's such a different style of film because the musical numbers, just can I safely say, they're a little more like happens in like a fantasy type sequences, right?
Yeah.
And so it's a really heavy and a really depressing story with these very interesting musical numbers brought in. And I think though too, it fits in with the time period of which, as you so well, as you stated so well, Darren, that you got to understand the context of these films, and as far as like when they were made, and I think that this was interesting to be made in 1981.
Mhm.
That because I couldn't picture like a really happy, breezy musical being made in that era.
Mhm.
But this type of film, yes. And it was a box office bomb. I think that as more people appreciate it now than
Yeah, it was a critical hit.
they did, because I think the critics, I think anybody who really likes musicals and understands film is going to groove on it.
Right.
But and then also just showing what a talent Steve Martin is, because again, clearly we know him as this brilliant, hilarious comedian, but he's got some real chops, and that are shown here.
Mhm.
Real talent. I think this is a very interesting film. Yeah,
Interesting is the best way to put it. It's funny too that I started my musical watching a movie that started creating the rules for musicals, and then I ended my list with a movie that
yeah.
was kind of break the rules of musicals that
Breaking
have been
breaking the
established,
rules.
right?
That also kind of set in that time period of that
Right,
original of that first film too, right?
right.
So yeah,
There's some
really
fascinating
really
things
cool.
going on, And obviously, when there's Steve Martin is a great physical comedian, so it makes sense that he'd be good at dance numbers. Like his tap dancing, I think he practiced for like 6 months or something like that to get
Yeah.
it down.
It's
So the part where I think he's dancing with the actors are Robert Fitch and Tommy Rawl. It's the girl by the Boswell sisters, and they're tap dancing like a trio or whatever.
yeah.
And he's got on Steve Martin's face, that's the face that you're used to, right? Again, since he's such a fantastic Steve Martin is maybe my favorite comedian. He's such a fantastic physical comedian. You're like, yeah, of course
Yeah.
he's going to get the tap dancing down, right?
I love Steve Martin too. Yeah.
And I know I love that he was trying to break the mold. That's what Steve Martin always did. This is a second movie. We expected him to be in a comedy and he just wasn't. And so he was just trying something new already out of the gate. His agent told him not to do it. He did it anyway. I don't know if he's as a comedian, like I watch him during the dramatic scenes, I'm like, I want to laugh at him because it's Steve Martin, right? And I don't know if I completely buy his dramatic chops, even though he does pull a lot of that off. But yeah, the musical numbers really show off his, so it still shows off his talent that we're used to, right?
Yeah.
But the fact again that it's set in the 30s, it's so interesting. Musicals obviously are about when you break out because your emotions you can't contain them, right? And what happens here is, yeah, you look at Christopher Walken, who obviously was a professional dancer. It's crazy. Like Let's Misbehave, his
I
scene
know.
is
I
crazy.
know, it's
It's
crazy because
so
it's
good.
so unexpected in a way too. You guys are like, "What? That's Christopher
Yeah,
Walken?"
and it's who actually I think he danced with Judy Garland, I think at one point.
Which is
And
amazing. Yeah,
yeah, and
wow.
so but yeah, it was praised later by Fred Astaire, I think even, and Gene Kelly. But yeah, the way that he's a pimp, right? First of all, you get the Bernadette Peters character who's a teacher, and she has that big giant musical number with all the kids, but then it cuts and she's getting fired because she's pregnant, right? It doesn't the musical number doesn't match with what's happening in the story. Christopher Walken is a literal pimp who threatens to cut her face,
Yeah,
and he's engaging in this dance number. As soon as it's over, it just cuts right back to him being in gangster mode, like threatening her, right? And that's the whole. Again, I spoiled it at the end when Steve Martin is finally singing "Pennies from Heaven," right? It's actually his voice. He speaks singing it, but he's by the gallows. And the movie, he stops the movie to go, we can't end like this. Like this, that's not how songs work, right? Let's end with a giant, big number like "The Glory of Love" that has over 126 dancers in it. Right? It's just so fascinating that all the musical numbers are like an ironic counterpoint
yeah,
to the story that's going on.
yeah. It's really, as you said, it's almost like it turns it flips the genre on its head, uh, and that's what I think. That's what makes it unique,
Yeah.
and that I've had a lot of ways. I'm kind of shocked it even got made, frankly. Uh,
Right, had some clout, right?
yeah, yeah,
It's shot by Gordon Willis, the Prince of Darkness, shot The Godfather, right? There's parts where it copies, like, a couple of famous paintings, like, it copies Reginald March's, like, 20 Cent movie where you see Albert and you see Eileen at a movie, watching a movie, and then the way that the shot is framed from the back, it's a literal copy of 20 Cent movie. Later, there's the famous painting Nighthawks by Edward Hopper, right, of the person at, like, a diner.
yeah. They're at a diner, yeah. Kind
Yeah,
of you
it
see looking
copies
in, you're looking in through the window, right, of this
right.
diner, yeah,
Of this corner of the diner, and it copies that shot. I was like, "Oh, that's Nighthawks, I know that." But even those paintings, 20 Cent movie and Nighthawks, the way that the paintings are structured, they're about characters that are unsynchronized or don't synchronize with their surroundings, right? They're kind of stand apart from them. So copying I was like, "That copies that, that's weird." But even that's like a comment on what the characters are going through, right?
yeah.
It's like I said, I didn't enjoy myself, you know what I mean? If that makes
Right.
sense?
It is not an enjoy. It's not. This is not one of the movies that makes you feel better.
Right, but it's
Yeah.
so fun to think about, and all what it was
It's
trying to do is so
really thought
fascinating,
provoking. Yeah.
and I obviously, like, the lipstick on the nipples part caught me off guard.
Yeah.
I didn't know this was rated R. It's a very light
Right.
R, but it was like, "Oh, okay."
Is that
That's one of the
okay? Yeah.
right.
This is for grown-ups. The I love Bernadette Peters, and so it's also I think wonderful that they got her in it, and then also we just have a film that she's in that really captures her. I feel like in her youthful,
Yeah.
you know, part of her career, and just again, just what a tremendous talent she is, and
Right.
continues to be. But
And, Fred Astaire even shows up, like,
yeah,
let's be it the way that they integrate themselves in with, what is it, Follow the Fleet, right? With Fred
yeah,
Astaire and Ginger Rogers, and the way that they're watching the movie first, he starts singing lip syncing the song, they walk up to the screen, start dancing in sync with them, but then they seep into the movie, and it ends with a literal shot of them trapped and encaged within prison bars, and I was like, "This is so interesting to watch."
yeah. It's really really artistic,
Mhm.
heavy. Again, you think again the time period that it was made, but um, really like in a lot of ways one of a kind,
Right.
and I think definitely worth checking out.
Can
And
I ask
I,
you a question? And
of
maybe you
course,
can do
we'll see.
you think
Can I answer it? Do I know?
do you think that this movie had an influence on Chicago or Dancer in the Dark, these cynical musicals? Do you think the DNA of Pennies from Heaven is in a lot of these musicals that aren't the big extravaganza feel good blockbuster stuff? You know what I'm talking? Do you
Oh
think
yeah,
DNA is in the most modern musicals?
that's an excellent question, which I'm so glad you asked because honestly, I mean, I think we can probably say yes,
Yeah.
but because it was, I think in a lot of ways it was groundbreaking,
Yeah.
and that people who saw it and thought about it were like, wow, that's an interesting approach, or stylistically such interesting choices. But that's a good question. But then also, in 1980, this, which was before this, but Xanadu was made, which I think is one of the worst movies ever made.
With one of the most beautiful faces.
Well, I love Olivia John, but
Right, right, yeah.
and Gene Kelly, I adore Gene
Yeah,
Kelly, but oh my stars,
right.
what a horrible, horrible film in my opinion. But good question. What are your thoughts on this, Darren?
All I can say is I completely understand why this bombed at the box office. I don't think people were ready for what they
Yeah, exactly. And again, I'm thinking, they're thinking Steve Martin's in it,
yeah.
Bernadette Peters in it. It's going to be this, and it's a musical. It's going to be happy. Well, not even close.
Right. And Chicago, Dancer in the Dark, those are movies that are not happy movies, it is.
No,
So I definitely
no.
think but they were bigger Chicago Dancer in the Dark, obviously not. Lars von Trier is not what you'd call a audience direct, but like Chicago, that was a huge hit. That won Oscars. That made people feel good, even though it's a very dark, cynical,
Yeah,
angry movie.
yeah. Chicago is terrific and a terrific stage play too.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. Good, excellent question.
Interesting stuff.
Something to think about, isn't
Right.
it? And to
Yeah.
really kind of put the pieces together, and also like wanting to talk to some of these filmmakers, and see what they would have to um, say about this. My my next one is Meet Me in St. Louis. Meet Me in St. Louis from 1944. This is also a Vincent Minnelli film,
Yeah.
uh, Technicolor musical starring Judy Garland. And I think that the reason you and I, of course, corresponded about this too, Darren, right? But we thought we needed a Judy Garland film in
That
here.
wasn't Wizard of Oz, right?
That right, it wasn't Wizard of Oz, and so this is one we picked. Although I think Judy Garland was in just a lot of really terrific films
Yeah, you have to talk
for
about her
MGM.
if you're gonna talk musicals.
Uh, but what a tremendous talent she was. This is the film where Vincent Minnelli being the director. This is where they met,
Yep.
and they ended up getting married.
Mhm.
And then of course Liza Minnelli
Right,
is their daughter, who followed in their footsteps. Particularly her mother's footsteps. But
right.
it's this is such. I just think this is just really one of the sweetest films to talk about a bit of a juxtaposition, right? From something that's kind of
Yeah,
modern and cynical. This is so old fashioned. It's set at the turn of the century. Into from the 1800s into the 1900s. Uh, Set in St. Louis, and it's just a snapshot of an American family,
mhm.
and this they're a wealthy family, but and the dad has an opportunity to relocate with his job to New York City, and the family is devastated. They love it in St. Louis, so there's that going on. But also, uh, the Judy Garland character, she falls in love with the boy next door. Who's just moved in, right? And so there's like this romance, and then Margaret O'Brien is in it. Is this cute, the little sister who's adorable, and there's just again amazing musical numbers. Judy Garland just shines. I think too in this film. It was good to pick, and Judy Garland, even though she's playing a young adult, she's an adult,
Yeah.
and can be, and she's beautiful. I think the way that the hair and makeup and costume in this film, she looks gorgeous. Like no wonder Vince Neil fell in love with her as well. That's what I thought. I
Well,
thought.
isn't she her character? Isn't she technically the same age as Leslie Caron and Gigi? But Gigi's a
Oh
little girl that becomes an adult, and you're right.
yeah,
Like Judy Garland in this, she as Esther, she's an adult. She has to be like she's the old one of the oldest. She's the oldest sister, maybe the second oldest sister.
I can't remember if she's the oldest or the second oldest sister, but yeah, but she's near that part of the family, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Isn't there an older sister? Is it
Rose.
anyway?
Yeah, Rose.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Rose, who's got the gentleman collar
Yeah.
that's involved.
Lucille Bremer, I think is her name.
Yeah, yes. But Mary Astor plays the mother.
Yeah,
Uh, anyway, I just think it's again has just some of the great uh, songs in it, from a Hollywood musical, and such terrific direction.
yeah.
Again, the plot's kind of nothing, uh, but it's so charming, and really, it basically just goes from like four seasons, right? It's kind of set up in four acts in a way, right, and goes through the four
Very
seasons
nicely.
of a single year, and wow. I just think it's a dazzle, and it's about as sentimental and sweet a film um, as you can get.
Right.
What do you think about it?
I would call this a warm hug of a movie.
Yes, perfect way to put it
And
there.
it's strange because I watched it after Kiss Me Kate and another one we're gonna be talking about, which are very big, grandiose, giant musical numbered. Let's stop and pause and admire the costumes and the set design and the choreography type movies. And then sitting down and watching this, it's more like Little Women, but with songs, right?
Yeah, that's a great way to put
It's
it.
based
Yeah,
on, the
and
Kensington
it's set in the
stories.
Midwest
Yeah,
rather
yeah,
than
yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
you got
yeah,
it's based on the Kensington Stories by, Sally Benson. It's, again, it's got that tone. It's got a little bit of Mary Poppins with the Leon Ames as the dad. Like, one of the most charming things about Mary Poppins is how the dad is actually it's about him and his kids, right? And how that comes in. And you see the romance stuff and everybody gets giddy and, obviously Esther leads her guy around like is it John? Anyway, leads him around the house like turning off lights, and it's very cute and it's romantic. But then it becomes this more familial thing where the dad becomes I always love movies where the dad, once he comes home, the whole attitude of the house changes, right?
yeah, yeah.
There's no frivolity. It's not fun. We got to be serious. We got to be
Serious,
quiet.
dad's serious.
The dad wants his quiet time. He's been at work all day. And so that's where it starts. It has a little bit of stuff because obviously I think Rose is waiting for a phone call and he ruins that. But then later when he tries to put the hammer down, he's like, I'm going to be the only one that answers this phone after seeing his daughter crying. And then the phone rings and he goes, Rose, you go ahead and answer that because he knows who it's for. It has the little touch in there to make you, oh, he's an understanding dad, even though he's got to fit that mold of the time, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And by the end, I love that he says we're moving without consulting anybody, and it throws all his girls into turmoil, right? And he's trying to pass cake out to everybody, and nobody wants to eat the cake because they're all depressed. Nobody, and he's the only one that eats. Even his dad, is it his dad or the mom? I don't know. The grandpa in the
the
house.
grandpa. Yeah,
Yeah, he doesn't want to eat. And then he sings a song, like the wife finally realized, okay, he's my husband. I gotta support him. They sing a song on the piano, they sing together, and all of a sudden the family starts drifting in with their cake. They're sitting together as a family, and it's so warm and recognizable. So even if it doesn't have like these I think the grandest musical number is probably the trolley song, right? The
Yeah,
crazy
the trolley song is
the way that it's choreographed. But
pretty great. Yeah,
and then there's the
yeah,
dance at the end, obviously, but there's nothing like holy, like, let's stop the show and show-stopping number or anything like that.
right.
It's just a warm hug of a movie. I don't know
It,
another way to explain it.
a real showcase too, I think, for Judy Garland's voice. She sings against some standards. Uh,
Yeah.
Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas,
Mhm.
was in this film, and uh, yeah, Boy Next Door. As you mentioned, the trolley song, of course, the film's title song or title track, whatever you want to call it, and cute little Margaret O'Brien is such a great actress in this. I think she's so cute. And then when she has her absolute breakdown, I think it's after Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas.
Right,
She just
why is that
completely
leading
falls
over?
apart. Just
Right.
think like what a great performance. That Vincent Minnelli pulled out of her.
Yeah,
I just think as a little child actor, that was emotion packed.
right.
Uh,
Well, talking about Garland, obviously, like, very, very famous. Like, you can't talk about MGM musicals or musicals without talking
yeah,
about her,
without talking about Judy
right?
Garland,
But
amen.
she's very famously, I think she had a lot of drama going on her background.
Oh, 5 marriages,
Yeah, and
just and
she
health problems that I think that were really a lot of them brought on by the pressure that she felt as from the studio.
Yeah. I think
Yeah,
she claimed that when she was first signed on to MGM that they were constantly prescribing amphetamines to her and a bunch of the other young actors
yeah.
so they could
Keep them
keep
going, keep working.
but then they'd give them barbiturates so they could go to sleep, so they were constantly being fed drugs supposedly, and she kind of
Horrible. Yeah,
blamed it on that, and again, I think in her later life, she just had so much self-doubt that's she wouldn't show up to set a lot of the time, like, she's very, like, erratic. I think on this movie too, she had a hard time
yeah,
because of her upbringing and things like that. So I don't wanna blame her for that, but she's got a face. She's got maybe the most expressive face in all of musicals, right? When she is dancing with Tootie, right? And I can't explain it. The look on Garland's face. She's watching O'Brien dance, and she's like waiting for. She's trying to guide O'Brien along, but she's also like curious if she can keep up. The look on her. There's so much. I'm not sure if I would call it care, but she wants her sister to do well at this
yeah.
dance.
It's just dear. I mean, it's just
Adorable.
yeah,
Yeah, and just that whole thing, just you watch Garland's face, and there's just something on her face that it's like, "Oh, she's a big sister," you know what I
yeah,
mean? And it's just
yeah.
lovely to look at. And that's just one example of many examples. Like, the season thing you talked, I think they were kind of inspired by Orson Welles' Magnificent Ambersons. He does that. So, the way that they did the postcard kind of fade into the
Yeah.
actual I thought it was lovely, very,
Uh,
very like, almost like
yeah.
poetry.
It's really it's so well crafted.
Right.
The and Judy Garland, I mean, again, the Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, probably, I think many of us know that song. You should watch this movie just for that scene, I think alone. Just her performance of it is so wonderful, so heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But then also in a similar way too, when she's in near the beginning of the film, when she sees the boy next door, she's elaborating on the crush that she has on the dude that just moved in. That again, you feel it. She sells it like nobody's business.
Yeah.
Just like she does, in The Wizard of Oz when she's singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow. I mean, what is more effective than that? As far as I'm
Absolutely.
concerned, as far as just a remarkable performance and beautiful singing. Just
Agreed.
beautiful singing.
Yep.
I always have felt somewhat sad about how her life turned out.
Yeah.
Given again just how wonderfully talented she was, and then just how it was kind of a sad way. And then she died of an overdose, if I'm not mistaken, too, didn't
Right.
she?
Yeah, she did.
Yeah. So anyway, but grateful that again that we've got these performances captured on film.
Right.
We can see these amazing things. All right, Darren, what's your next film?
Okay, so Seven Brides for Seven Brothers from 1954. Again, it's a Stanley Donen film. We talked before. I originally did not want to include this on my list because I don't want to have that conversation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's literally a part where they kidnap girls, they're screaming, you know what I mean? They don't know what's going on. They're basically kept at this, so that's what a lot of people focus on, right? It's
Right, they focus on it's the rape of the Sabine women,
boom, boom,
set in
yeah,
the,
boom.
kind of thing,
I
and
mean,
it's not,
that
and
right
it's so
there.
not cool. It's so
No,
horrible.
no, not at all. And again, I didn't wanna include it because I didn't wanna have that conversation, but it was you were like, "This put it on there. Let's talk Seven Brides for Seven Brothers." And again, I had this much lower, but when I was watching this, I'm like, "Gosh dang it. I love
I love this
this
movie.
movie. I
I love this
love it.
movie. Yeah.
Everything about it." And here's the thing, like, I was talking with my wife about it, and it's based in 1850, right? And I was telling her about, "Oh, yeah, it's all the problematic stuff, and women are treated as property." And my wife says, "But women were treated as property back then." Right? I love that Adam walks into town. He's like, "Well, I'm gonna get a wife. It's as easy as picking up some grain, right? It's that easy." And he goes in, you can tell Millie, Jane Powell, she's interested in him from the beginning. She's kind of, she's attracted to him, all that stuff. She agrees that, and there's nothing problematic about that. It's just really hilariously old fashioned. And then here's the thing. I posted on Twitter that I was watching it, and I was like, "I'm sorry this is problematic, but I can't help it. I love this thing. The Michael Kidd choreography
The
is
Michael Kidd choreography, yeah, is so such not what a knockout.
it's
Wow, wow.
maybe the most electric choreography since West Side Story. I think it comes
Absolutely.
in second to that. But and then one of my friends, Marianne, the girly nerd on Twitter, I think you or at least Rachel's had conversations.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah,
met her,
you
yes.
have, that's right. She wrote back basically said, "I can understand saying it's problematic, but it's so innocent." And again, this is why I didn't wanna have this conversation because people are still gonna be like, "Yeah, but it's still problematic, so you shouldn't feel good about watching the movie," right? You shouldn't feel good that it's based on something with the word rape in it. Like, that's not something you should have fun with. But here's the thing, like, it's so funny that he grabs Millie, she goes back, and because I mean, it's these 8 brothers, it's great how they all look alike, all red hair, they all look like brothers, right?
Yeah.
And they're so clueless and they're so disheveled that when Millie walks in, she's like, "Oh no, oh no." And so she takes charge and she's like, "You're going to eat right. You're going to get dressed. You're going to shave. You're
You're
going to
gonna
get
comb
back."
your hair. Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
And they have no, because they were raised, I'm assuming, by a mother who raised them right, they have no, like, draw or no desire to be violent with her or to I don't even think these boys know what sex is, right?
Right.
I don't That's not a part of their I think that they were raised at least in a way to respect women. And yeah, the situation is strange. They go out and they meet the girls at the barn dance, which holy crap, the bar raising
That
sequence.
barn raising sequence is really one of the finest dance sequences put on film, just as you're saying, Darren. The Michael Kidd choreography, and again, in combination with the Stanley Donen, direction and cinematography, or just listen to his guidance of how to move that camera, it's remarkable. It's
Yeah.
absolutely remarkable.
It goes on for so long and it keeps getting more and more like crazy. And
It's crazy, and how in the world did those dancers do it?
it's
You
nuts.
know, on the sawhorses and all of this stuff. Like, how many takes do they have to do that?
Right. And again, I think
Heavens.
it's innovative in the way they really utilized a lot of male dancers and integrated them in ways that hadn't been seen before, like wood chopping. They're choreographing wood chopping to be kinetic, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
again, they kidnap the girls or whatever, and then I couldn't help but laugh, when they're trying to get through the avalanche, and then they'll "Let them go, good boys," and then they all scream, and I thought that was funny. I'm sorry I couldn't help it, but the way that they show up and the way that Adam is so, "Oh, I know," because he sang that song about how do you know your love, and he says, even though he doesn't know Millie's listening, he's like, "All women are the same," right? So he hurts her, right, without knowing it. But when he shows up with all those girls, when they come back, she automatically, immediately berates them. Like, you see her face at the barn raising dance where I thought it was really funny that they're trying so hard not to fight, and then they just can't help it anymore, the Pontypridd boys. And
Yes.
they literally bring down the house, right? And it cuts to Millie's face and she's sobbing because they've embarrassed her, right? And
Right.
so when they bring all these girls back, she immediately says, "You guys are living out in the barn. You are not allowed to step foot in this house until we get them back to their families," right? When winter is over. Like, you go in the barn, she yells at Adam. Adam goes off to his own cabin because they've been banished or whatever. And then they have the scenes where the girls are getting revenge on the boys by throwing snowballs with rocks in them and things. It's a really funny scene. It's really funny. because again, the boys deserve what they're getting, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
love seeing the but then you have the scene, I was laughing my head off because they're all inside and the boys keep finding an excuse to come in because, "Oh, I need ointment," or "I hurt my elbow," or something like that. And each girl, like, when the boy that she's interested comes in, like, you can tell in her face that, oh, she likes this boy, right? I mean, it's just human nature. And at the point where Millie finally realizes what's going on and she opens the door and all the boys are the rest of the boys are lined up. And she's like, "We're not doing this, guys. Go back." And the looks on the girl, how disappointed the girls' faces are, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And I think, Julie Newmar, her character,
Julie
punch
Newmar. Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Yep.
They punch her because she's not being like "You've gotta be mad at these guys," and she's just not. She's interested, right?
Yeah.
And it's I was just laughing my head off because it's so charming, and it's not again, I understand the problematic talk, but it's like, it's so innocent. I don't think these boys have any they realize their mistake, like, immediately. The whole movie, literally, Gideon goes to Adam at the end and says, "You don't even know your wife. Like, you've been in bed with her. You don't even know who she is." And it's so old-fashioned. I think it's hilarious that the whole movie's about these boys realizing they need to treat their women well,
Yeah.
right? They
Yeah.
need to treat them with respect. And it ends again so funny where the girls, they don't wanna go back now because they're loving where they are. They're loving their way of life, and they hide, and it's like a reverse kidnapping at the end. There's the father's doing it. It's just I can't I get it. I get the problematic stuff, but it's so fun, and it's so charming, and it's so innocent. The choreography is electric. The performances, again, Howard Keel belting out "Bless Your Beautiful Hide." It's like, how
Oh,
can you not
yeah.
love every second of this?
Right. So
Even some of
true.
the funny stuff. So, yeah, I couldn't help it. I was like, "Yeah, this is my second favorite of all the ones that I've watched. I love this."
I'm glad you chose to leave it on, and I hope I didn't, cause any pressure
No,
or
you
anything, but it was
I
just
ranted.
more.
I'm sorry, I just went off on a giant rant, but yeah.
No, I'm so glad though that you picked it, for all the reasons that you stated. And again, I don't wish to be insensitive about this or offensive, but the way I interpret this is that really, ultimately, the women are the ones that are in control. I
Yeah,
mean,
they're in
sure,
charge.
yes, they did get kidnapped, but Jane Powell's character, she kicks out her husband. There's no marital relations going on. She's like, forget about it. I mean, clearly it already happened, right? Because she has a baby.
It's
Spoiler
not
alert.
something you just get, right? This is not something you just get.
Yeah, exactly. And then same thing. Like all the men there, they're not coming in the house, and they respect Jane Powell. I think is uh, in that role. And then yeah, just how it all pans out. And also though, it's prime for criticism, but isn't it nice that they all fall in love? I mean, I think it's kind of swell.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I mean, that's an old-fashioned word, maybe an antiquated sentiment, but that's what's so charming about it, in my opinion. And what's wrong? What's wrong with that?
So, where I'm gonna get really controversial, though, is it's the double standard in Hollywood and the way that a lot of people look at movies. Yeah, this movie has some problematic stuff, but we were texting back and forth. The stuff that I found out during my research about Gene Kelly and about Arthur Freed. Gene Kelly famously on the set of Singing in the Rain treated Debbie Reynolds like crap, like literal crap, made her cry, made her like she says that she can't decide what's worth giving birth, giving natural birth, or working with Gene Kelly, right?
Yeah,
There's a
yeah.
part where they kiss and he shoved his tongue in her mouth. He was 39 and she was 19. And so she felt violated, right? You look at Arthur Freed again, a very prolific producer. Like he's very like like you said, he's
Making
got a good name,
family-friendly musicals.
right? When
Yeah,
he first talked to Shirley Temple, I believe she wasn't even, I think she was 9. He exposed himself to her during one of their meetings, and she didn't know what it meant, so she giggled at it and didn't realize what had happened to her until later in life. Okay, so you've got a bunch of these, and again, I
those
was like,
guys that are really acting
yeah,
like pigs.
I don't wanna
Horrible,
I was like,
horrible.
I don't think I wanna read the histories of this stuff anymore because it's getting
I
complicated.
know. It's
You know
like
what I mean?
talking about how hard it is to separate the art from the artist sometimes, because here these musicals are all so based in joy, and then you read about these horrible actions.
But here's
Horrible.
And luckily, I think
despicable.
when I looked at Fred Astaire's, I was like, "Oh, there's no like in the Wikipedia, there's no section talking about sexual misconduct now. There's none of that." So I'm like, "Oh, thank goodness, there's one."
Thank goodness, I know.
But who knows? There could be more stuff going on, right? Anyway,
Sure.
I just my question is, how often do we hear about Arthur Freed's actions? How often do we hear about Gene Kelly's actions? Never, right? I bet I'm telling this stuff to people, they're like, "What? Gene Kelly did that?" or "Arthur Freed did that?" We never hear people talk about that, but you always hear people talk about how problematic the plot is to Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. You know what I mean?
Yep.
What's the standard here? Is it just because you don't see it that it's okay to not really talk about it? Like, there's a documentary on the Singing in the Rain DVD where they're praising there somebody actually says, "Debbie Reynolds must be thanking Gene Kelly to this day for the opportunity that he gave her." And I'm like, "Is she?" You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yep. Yep.
And people love Gene Kelly, right? People love Arthur Freed, even though they might not know him by name, but it's like they've done some despicable, gross things in their lives that multiple people have come out and accusing them of stuff. Gene Kelly, like Donald O'Connor didn't like working with him. Like Stanley Donen. You say that there was a rift. I don't know if there wasn't a rift. I don't know if they had a rift at some point, then they made up because, like I said, Gene Kelly kind of mellowed out. But is it just because we don't wanna talk about these things and it's easier to talk, you know what I mean, Stanford?
Right.
What's the idea here?
Let's criticize these movie plots, you know, but really what we should be criticizing is this horrible behavior, right? This despicable behavior from
Yeah,
some of these people who made it. I mean, it's horrible. Horrible.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think it's like there's gonna be this stuff all over and it's the art, like you said, it's the separating the art from the artist, which I can do. It's hard to do that, but as long as as long as the story is not about a Gene Kelly character sticking his tongue down somebody's throat, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
kind of deal with it because there's so many other things to focus on. But I don't know, this problematic stuff, this discourse, there's just not everybody's like even the way they're talking about it. I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, no, absolutely. It makes sense to me. And uh, I think those of you who criticize Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, I think you should give it a shot and watch it.
Yeah,
Watch the film and see what you think
right.
and how.
Some things can't be forgiven. Obviously, some things are a little bit. And again, in Gigi, there's literally a song called "Thank Heaven for Little Girls" that you're like, I don't know if it should be a song. So there's
Marie
all,
Chevalier,
yeah.
blessing you. Yeah, Uh,
So
yeah. That's a really really good point, Darren. And I wish I had better. I mean, not that I needed an answer. There's not. It's just in some ways I just kind of feel speechless.
mhm.
But I do feel that Seven Brides for Seven Brothers is just an absolutely outstanding
Yeah,
film.
it's a delight in spite of itself, I guess.
Yeah, 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 exactly. So, my guess number two is another Vincent Minnelli. We kind of yes, a lot of Vincent Minnelli going on.
Vincente.
But I love this film so much. It's The Bandwagon.
Mm,
It's from 1953, and it it's probably one of my all-time favorite musicals. I mean, I know we've got our number ones that we're going to talk about, but this film stars Fred Astaire and Sid Charisse. Fred Astaire is it's
Sid.
interesting in a lot of ways. It's almost biographical,
Yeah, yeah,
right? He's a kind of a has-been movie star who was a song and dance man. The film, like the opening scene, is open. It's a top hat and a cane that are being auctioned,
yeah.
and that he used in his movies, and people like a lot of people don't even know who he was,
Right.
but he's this aging musical star who is going to New York and hoping that being in a Broadway show is going to help jumpstart his career,
Yeah.
and it's got some of the most dazzling musical numbers. Uh, and dance numbers. It also stars Oscar Levant and Nanette Febvre, and then a man named Jack Buchanan. This is the first time I was ever
Mm,
introduced to Jack Buchanan. What I have read, Darren, or what I read, Darren, that Jack Buchanan is, and I think I learned it in the Hallowell's Film Guide. You and I both love the Hallowell's
we sure do.
film guide, but that Jack Buchanan was really considered like the Fred Astaire of the UK,
Okay.
and he's this is I think is frankly the only film I've seen him in. I haven't really tried to do a
Yeah.
deep dive, and maybe that'd be a fun thing to try to do sometime is try to find some more of his films, but it's so great, and it's got this one particular sequence when they're putting on the show, they're putting on the Broadway show,
Mhm.
and where it's just musical number after musical number after musical number. They kind of pack him in, and like this interstitial with like trains as they're going, from town to town on this, doing this tour with this show, and it just knocks my socks off every time. I think the thing, honestly, though, that really pushes me over the edge, it's got a great ballet sequence, all the singing in the rain,
Mhm.
and for more modern day audiences, it's Michael Jackson's Smooth Criminal video was really based or heavily influenced
Yep.
by that scene in from the Bandwagon. But then I think it's got one of the most romantic dance scenes ever put on film, which is Dancing in the Dark with Fred Astaire
Oh, yeah.
and Sid Charisse, which I could watch any day of the week and think that I was, it was just a little slice of heaven.
Mhm.
Beautiful music and the most impeccable dancing that I think that you'll ever see on film.
Yeah.
What's your
Oh,
take on the Bandwagon? And had you seen it before our discussion too, Darren? What's your experience with the film?
I hadn't seen it before, and this was the movie that I was the most grateful for when we were watching, because I was like, "How have I not seen this?" First of all, like you said, it's kind of biographical. It's got Fred Astaire as a kind of a has been that's trying to recapture himself and stuff like that. It's when he meets Sid Charisse, like I love the dichotomy of like, oh, she's not going to want to dance with me. I'm not up to her standard. Then she's like, oh, he's not going to want me in his movie. I'm not up to his standard. And they're kind of confident. Their lack of confidence in themselves kind of causes them to attack each other, and they start off
Yeah,
sparring when all they needed to do, again, as soon as they decide to start talking, that's when their romance starts blooming, right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
so I love that stuff. I love that the like the screenwriters, the Lester Martin, Lily Martin,
Yes,
about,
yes.
right? How they're obviously they're his writers, his fan club, right? And they want to they've written this thing for him, but then obviously Cordova comes in and he's like, no, we're gonna make it about Faust. We're gonna, I've never done a musical where, and I think Buchanan's performance is either based on Jose Ferrer because that's who they wanted originally, or it's based on Orson Welles, who wanted to direct a musical but had no experience doing that. Him and so I think it's more like it's Orson Welles because he's this guy that's putting on this play. It's like he's it's it's Jeffrey Cordova Presents, directed by
Yes.
Jeffrey Cordova, starring Jeffrey Cordova, with a dinner cooked by Jeffrey. It's all that.
Yes,
And
exactly.
that's what Orson Welles is. Orson Welles famously was like, he would look at a medium and go, "I can do it better than that," right? And he would march in and, yeah, 9 times out of 10, he would do it better than anybody had done before. But I like how he marched, "I wanna do it about Faust," and stuff like that. There's a part where obviously Tony, he can't find his bearings, and they're trying to act and they're performing, and then Cordova takes him aside and he does his whole over the top. I love how Buchanan is just acting to the back of the theater. He's so over the top, and he's giving him advice, and then Tony runs back out and he's acting like Cordova. He's like so over the top and he's yelling at people. I thought that was really funny. Um, the fact that, and here's the thing that I wanted to mention about this movie that I didn't, that kind of, actually not kind of, it absolutely applies to every other movie. I was about 12 or 15 minutes into the movie, Stanford. It's a part where he's off the train and before he gets to the shoe shine part, right?
Yes, yes.
Before shine your shoes. And I was like, they've only had 12 to 15 cuts in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
They're holding these oneers, these long shots, and they're organized, and you have to orchestrate them with people coming in at the right time and marching in and out of frame, and the lights have to be correct. Today, if a movie like this was made today, in the first 15 minutes, we would have already had 100 to 150
Yes.
shots.
Exactly. Just these quick edits, just and yeah. Yep.
And it's
Wonderful observation for
It's the
sure.
same thing with every one of these movies. There are so many oneers. There's a oneer in Gigi that I think goes on too long. It's got Jordan and Chevalier in a carriage. It's just a
Yes.
shot, and it goes on for so long that you're like, you kind of get bored of the shot, and then it cuts
Yep.
back. And I was like, there's a thing that you can't. keep a wonder going for too long if you can't make it interesting. And the thing with somebody like Spielberg is he can do a filmmaker that would take, 5 different shots to set up a scene in different cuts. Spielberg can do that in one shot, in a single one, or he can have actors move in different places, move up close to the camera so that counts as a close up, move back so that counts as a wide shot. The blocking in a Spielberg movie is incredible, and the blocking in this one by Minnelli is exactly the same. There's dynamics, there's characters that are placed in like different heights and different parts of the screen. It's always interesting to look at. And again, that's part of Fred Astaire's style, right? His whole thing was,
Yeah.
no, don't cut. Show me dancing the entire dance. Show me from head to toe, my whole body. Audiences will be wowed by that. Again, if you keep cutting, you're going to take away the mystique of this guy's a really good. Everybody can be a good dancer if you cut it correctly, right?
Yes.
But you got so many shots that are so well orchestrated that go on for so long, and there's so much happening in every shot that you're like, how did they do this? And you're like, this is one shot. It is incredible, the filmmaking in all of these. Well, maybe not so much Broadway Melody, but all of these movies,
Yeah.
they are so dynamic to watch, and they're so, I don't know. They're so interesting. There's never hardly ever a dull moment when you watch this. And the bandwagon again, it ends like you said with that entire sequence. I think they sing what is it? New Sun in the Sky. I guess I'll have to change my plan.
Yes.
Louisiana
Louisiana,
Hayride.
Louisiana, Hayride, Louisiana
Triplets.
Hayride.
Triplets which made me cackle. And then Girl Hunt, which
Oh,
I was
the
like,
smooth,
wait,
the smooth criminal sequence, right,
yeah,
is such a knockout to
yeah.
me.
And I was like, I need a movie in this entire Girl Hunt Milky Spillane
Yes,
style. I would love this.
same.
But the thing is, with that whole montage, again, it's a thing of how is this gonna be in the play? How like, what does this have to you know what I mean? But it
100%. It's like another one of those, we're putting on a show, and it's like, really? It's like the Esther Williams stuff. Like, really? This is on a stage.
but the fact
this, this is really a play.
they keep building and getting more and more inventive and longer. Triplets, again, I was cackling. Again, it's them as babies. The way that they're moving their heads, it's not so much they're on their knees, the way they're doing that. The way they're moving their heads and their body language. And literally at the end, they're like, if I had a gun, I would shoot these other. And then it climaxes with Girl Hunt. That's such a long sequence. And I think it's imagined, right? Like most of this, he's just imagining this in
Yeah,
his head. And you have the
yeah.
scene with Sid Charisse where it's the whole ballet, where it's got her scarf that's like bellowing in the wind, and it's just beautiful.
It's so beautiful.
That's
Yeah.
the magic of movies. It's like, yeah, this isn't logically tie in with what the plot of the movie is, like them rearranging the play, but it's like, I don't care. Look at this.
One of the things, again, I think the songs are a real strength in this movie too. It's got the iconic scene where they're singing "That's Entertainment," with that
Yep.
song, and
An original song. I think that's the original song in here.
could that scene be more charming too? You got these five great performers. They could hold their own. I think any of them could, but just together, and just the way it's crafted, it's movie magic,
Right.
really.
I also want to point out like the shine your shoes sequence.
Oh my stars, Darren! That thing, I can just watch that over and over
I know.
again too. It is so fantastic.
He's
And talk
performing
about just a feel good scene that's so optimistic and so happy.
he's performing with a guy named Leroy Daniels, who again is the shoe shiner or whatever. I
What a
think he
great
was
dancer he is.
yeah, a comedian dancer, an actual shoe shiner. But the thing that impressed me is it's just one single prop, right? Astaire is playing with he sits in the chair, he moves around the chair, he moves behind the chair in front
Can
of
you
the chair.
believe how he moves around in that chair?
No.
Yeah,
Well, it's inhuman, right? It's
it
almost
is.
extraterrestrial. Like it's
Yeah,
nuts.
it is.
But what I thought when I was watching that scene is, oh yeah, Jackie Chan took this is where he gets his inspiration. Because you look at any Jackie Chan action sequence, he looks at a ladder, he looks at a broom, and he's like, how many different ways can I move this broom around the screen that's going to be very entertaining and very dynamic and almost like a dance, right? I watched that scene, The Shiners, and I'm like, I bet Jackie Chan watches this like every day. And it's like, this
Well
is what I
said. Yeah,
live for, right?
yeah,
And it's
yeah.
the same thing with Gene Kelly, like his moves, it's like Jackie Chan famously in his movies, all you see his stunts like from head to toe, right? I just love I love Stanford watching movies where you can tell that other filmmakers, other actors, other movies have been inspired by them to do different or better or bigger things. Like that, you know what I mean? It's the creative
Yes.
process
Yeah.
that's it's kind of instilling. I love seeing that stuff.
I'm so glad you brought up that scene because that's an absolute favorite. Just the dazzle. Although there's not a musical number in this film that I don't like. It's
Right.
one of those that just like universally I like everyone. Again, shockingly a bit of a paper thin plot, but it's still what a treat.
Yeah.
You know, what a magnificent um musical, you
Right.
know. Well, which really leads us now to our next film, which we both picked the same one.
Right. I mean,
Yeah,
how
and we
could you
decided to
not?
keep it. We decided to keep it because how could we not?
Right.
Singing in the Rain,
Mhm.
you know, from 1952, directed by Gene Kelly and Stanley Donen. I think by many it's considered the finest musical ever made, and
Many.
I would concur. What's your take on it, Darren?
Well, my favorite musical is West Side Story.
Oh
I'm
my
transported to a
stars!
different place. And
I
again,
love that film, and I love Steven Spielberg's
yeah, yeah.
version too.
Oh,
But still,
amazingly almost as good, right? If not better.
magnificent. Yeah, yeah, it's fantastic.
So again, West Side Story, pretty problematic. There's a lot of problematic stuff in there. Like it's not a happy movie. But
It's
when
a
when I watch
brilliant
Singing
movie.
in the Rain, again, there's a difference between greatest and favorite. So I would absolutely
Yes,
vote
good point.
Singing in the Rain is the greatest. But the thing is, I decided to have my family sit down with me and watch this because it's like this is widely known as the greatest movie ever made. I want to educate my kids, right?
Yes,
The thing is, I always forget how funny this movie is.
it's
It
so
is
funny.
so funny. It's funnier than most comedies.
Yeah,
And
truth.
so this movie, I think, has everything that you want. It's got the choreography, it's got the singing, it's got the romance, it's got the fact again, I think it's funny that this is a movie that's about the switch from silent films to talkies, and that they wring so much comedy out of it. The part where you watch The Dueling Cavalier, the premiere of it, and everything that goes wrong is so funny.
Yeah,
And you're talking everything from I mean, and when you watch, like, Make 'Em Laugh, Donald O'Connor, you're like, "How is he doing this?" That physical
yeah.
comedy is out of this world, and his lines are even funny. You know what I mean? It's like when he he's like they show up in his car and it breaks down, and he's like, "This car hasn't given me a lick of trouble in over 6 hours." And then they try they try to whisk Don away, and Don's like, "Hey, call me a cab." And Cosmo goes, "All right, you're a cab."
Your
He's got
cap.
such funny lines, and so it's just and again, the meta comedy in this. I know the movie is about, like, dubbing people's voices, but Gene Hagen
Oh, see, Gene Hagen, in a lot of ways, almost gets MVP. You know, her
oh,
performance as Lena Lamont in this film is so absolutely hilarious.
it's a caricature, like, she's putting on a voice, like, her voice is deep and
Oh,
resonant.
she has a lovely voice. Yeah, you know,
So,
but
what I
this
love
character.
is when they show Kathy dubbing Lena's voice, they're actually Debbie Reynolds' voice is dubbed by Gene Hagen.
Hey, Gene Hagen. I know.
So
That's
she's
such a
dubbing
great.
Gene Hagen, who's dubbing Debbie Reynolds. It's so funny when you
It's so funny
oh,
when you find out this fact, you know, because you don't know when you're watching it per se. But yeah, but she has a lovely singing voice. Gene Hagen does, but in real life, you know, but her Lena Lamont character is one of the great comic villains, I think,
right,
on film too. And this this cast has so much energy. You know, I mean, even just from the opening sequence when it's Gene Kelly, Donald Carr, and Debbie Reynolds, you know, singing in the rain, you know, literally singing in the rain, you know, as the opening credits roll. Uh, those three are magic on the screen, and again, it's a bit heartbreaking knowing some of the reality of the making of
yeah,
this film, but
because
uh,
you don't sense that at all. I
no, you don't, and
yeah,
what a you know, how grateful we are, you know, that you know, because that would be kind of
yeah,
a wreck it. And it kind of does wreck it, but regardless, this film that they created is something so special.
right.
You know, just as a quick little side note, I want to bring up, and then let's dive in more in this film. But I recently rewatched this film too. I mean, actually, I mean, I could see this one any day of the week too. I mean, it's one of my all-time favorites too. But the I just was reminded, seeing that opening scene with the three umbrellas, with Gene Kelly's name and then Debbie Reynolds and Donald Carn. They turn around and there they are.
Yeah.
But I was thinking of also just the parallels of Carrie Fisher. Carrie Fisher's film, big breakthrough, was Star Wars with Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill. Just kind of the parallels of that. I thought are interesting. I just couldn't get thinking. Plus, Carrie Fisher, I think, has such a strong resemblance to her mother too.
Right.
But anyway, I digress. Let's get back to the musical. That's so wonderful.
I really misspoke. The scene where Gene Kelly is dancing with Sid Charisse, that's in this movie. It's not in the band.
Oh, with the 50-foot scarf. No, yeah. but they do have that in that ballet. And doesn't she have a scarf in the bandwagon too? But yeah,
it's in this grand.
It blends together, and then again, but yeah, that 50-foot scarf is with the wind machine going is memorable.
Well, I wanted to say, just to go back to bandwagon for Sid Charisse, I was reading some criticisms of performance. I'm like, I thought she was great. Like, what are you talking about? Like, she's gorgeous. She's got the legs, obviously, but then you have
what a dancer. Wow.
Yeah, you have her in this, especially with the girl hunt stuff. How she plays the blonde and the brunette. It's like,
yep.
Or am I mixing up again? Is that still from the bandwagon? No,
the
girl hunt is in the last one. Right.
Right, but although
that's right,
it seems like though in Singing in the Rain, she's wearing wigs too. It seems like for part of it. Yeah. But still, but she's the gangster's girlfriend, right? Yeah. In Singing in the Rain.
That's
with
right.
the flipping the coin, aren't they?
Yeah, she's just in that little sequence. Again, I keep mixing up Kelly and Fred Astaire.
They're so similar. I mean, honestly, those scenes are so similar to each other.
Yeah, you can throw my cinephile car. I'll throw that. I'll bring that. I'll turn that in.
I guess we just swap out, Fred Astaire and Gene Kelly, but still, yeah.
I think we're just kind of you meld all these great things together. You just want to talk about them so much that they just kind of. But anyway, back to Singing in the Rain. I love that this is just, like I said, it's a meta comedy that has been, I think, like you look at like The Artist kind of copied the same plot. Babylon,
yes.
Downton Abbey, A New Era copies the same plot, right? With the comedy with the voices and things like that.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. It's very influential, but you're talking about influential. See, that Singing in the Rain number, which again was a familiar number already with people, and it seems like Kelly, as a dancer, not as a person, like the way that he was just seems improvised. Seems like it's just pure feeling. That's what musicals are. When we have the dancing in the dark sequence, which I didn't talk about as much as I wanted to, when they're just out with each other
in the bandwagon,
right? And then they're not talking and they just dance. That's where their romance is coming from.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking. It's all about just the sensation of like when he's dancing in the rain, kicking the water in the puddles, things like that. It's all what they're feeling inside, and it's just coming out, and it lifts you. It lifts you up. When you say that you want to watch a musical when you're feeling down, I absolutely understand. Like that's why you want to watch a musical, because it takes you out of life, right? And you forget where all your troubles for a couple hours.
That Singing in the Rain sequence, clearly, again, famous is famous, right? But also so incredibly well crafted, because as you said, the dance does look so improvised, but clearly the way that the camera moves, it's not right. Like every step is planned and well rehearsed. But that's just some of the brilliance of it. And I know you hear all these stories about, like Gene Kelly had a cold or whatever, just because of be soaking wet for all those hours that he had to film it. And I don't necessarily know. Do you know any other little trivia items about that scene, other than I just think it's just remarkable and pure movie magic,
That seems very Michael Jordan of him. Like Michael Jordan famously, I think he had a cold in it was his highest scoring game that he'd ever had. And you're like, I don't know if you're amazing, right? I don't know if you really needed to tell me you had a cold. I already think
right. But again, this movie too is just like greatest hit after greatest hit as far as musical numbers go. I love Good Morning. I could watch that over and over again. I think that, again, pure delight. just how much fun that is. How and I think I remember the first time I saw that movie, I was like, I want to live in that house. That's that Spanish revival house that clearly is just one giant movie set, but still, just delightful in every regard. And also, though, I mean, I've heard people talk about this too, Darren. That, as you had mentioned, it's also like one of the great films that talks about the switch from silent films to talkies.
Yeah, and milks it.
Yeah.
Milks it for everything it's worth.
That's right.
When Lena is she's trying to speak into the microphone and she's not getting it. She keeps turning away. It's so funny. And the way that it's on the screen when they do the premiere, so funny. I think this works just as well as like a meta comedy, as like a Naked Gun, or
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? It's the same type of, oh, if it's the inside and then poking fun at a bunch of things that people normally wouldn't see, right? But it's still got the very traditional story, like the main characters fall in love, like he's sticking up for his girl. The villain gets a comeuppance, that kind of thing. It's all very satisfying, this whole movie. And even though I'm seriously mixing
Oh,
scenes
you're
from other
good.
movies, right? It's I don't know, like, when you wanna that's why I wanted my kids to sit with me, and again, they laughed through the whole thing. It's like,
Yeah. What was your kid's response? That's what I wanted
they thought it
to
was great.
know.
My daughter was like, "Oh, that's so funny that she's dubbing the actress that she's being dubbed by." Like, she loved that little piece, right? And
Yeah, that little bit of trivia.
they loved the Moses Supposes stuff. They were cackling again during
Oh, my
the trying to
stars.
record of the microphone stuff. They were kind of I don't think they was wowed as much by the dance moves, because I don't know why that doesn't impress people, but, like, so they would look away during some of that, but they did respond to the plot, and they responded to a lot of the comedy, and so that at least was a success. But, yeah, if you're gonna show somebody a musical, show them this, because it's entertaining as hell, and
Yeah.
it has the choreography, it has the prop work, everything about it is so great. Again, watching the behind the scenes documentaries and seeing all the wonders, the great that's the thing that Stanley Dolan and Vincente Minnelli and Arthur Freed, for their business savvy, right? They really strove to integrate the musical numbers with the plot. That was huge. Again, it's weird thinking that wasn't a thing at one point. That somebody actually had to say, "Hey, wouldn't it be more interesting if we actually made the songs part of the plot?" You know what I mean? It's interesting that conversation had to happen. And so just seeing everybody in full frame, again, Make 'Em Laugh goes on for so long, and you're like, it seems like it takes place in one shot, and you're like, "How is he still moving? Like, how is he
How is he
adjusting?"
even able to do this? Yeah.
And when you
Yeah.
look at the Oneers, again, the behind the scenes stuff, Adam
Yes.
Shankman, who directed Hairspray and Rock of Ages, he says he marveled at that stuff at the Oneers, because he says that modern movie productions no longer have time to perfect their dance numbers, so that's why they shoot them in pieces,
Mhm.
so that you can just choreograph a bit at a time, and to me,
Yeah, and the
it's so
frenetic editing,
effective. Yeah.
yeah.
And editing helps. Like, again, you go back to Bandwagon, when they do triplets, all of a sudden I said in the first 12, 15 minutes, there's maybe 12, 15 cuts at most. But then in triplets, all of a sudden there's a part where they cut to each of the actors' faces in like staccato rhythm. And all of a sudden you wake up because you're not used to that energy, right?
Yes.
I think editing plays just as strong a part in like the choreography. It's just that, where do you cut? And I think you need to watch Astaire in action. You need to watch Gene Kelly in action, and how Minnelli and how Donen directs them, and all these other fantastic directors, how they direct these guys and show off their talents. That's that's the magic. That's what you need to show people. And so you have these lists of movies that we've covered that do that and show you how to put together a really great musical.
Darren, so clearly you and I both picked this as our top, again, and we decided to,
Pretty much,
leave it,
yeah.
leave it. Why do you think this film is regarded as, probably like the finest musical made, and definitely like one of the finest musicals that MGM made?
Well, other than the choreography and the comedy and stuff, like, I really think that Hollywood loves movies about Hollywood. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That gives them an inside look. Yeah, that's how it works. Or isn't it funny that's how it works? I think there's that underlying subtext to how movies are made. And it's kind of pulling back the curtain, literally at the end, right? But the movies, literally, that's what it's about. Or figuratively, that's what it's about. Is you're showing how movies are made, how the sauce is made. And I think Hollywood really loves that, and audiences love that stuff too, especially when it's this entertaining.
The and I just think again, even though we discussed some of the bad behavior, there's such an appeal about Gene Kelly.
Yeah.
Given there's a lot of talk about, I think, comparing Gene Kelly and Fred Astaire. They both have very different dance styles, and I'm by no means a dance expert, but Gene Kelly's dancing is so athletic and dare say aggressive, but like beautifully aggressive, right? It's just like with such tremendous control. Uh, I always just find any scene that he's in, he just lights up the screen, and
Would you say he's as graceful as Fred Astaire, or is Fred
no,
Astaire
I
more
don't think, well, possibly, I guess, depending on, the dance he's trying to do.
Mhm.
Uh, Fred Astaire, though, I mean, in a lot of ways, I think he's kind of the king.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he continues to show it. And I think another reason why I love the bandwagon too is because he's still showing that he's God, even though he's in a way, as we mentioned, kind of this autobiographical style of story
Mhm.
where he's being portrayed as a has been. But I dare say that the dancing that he does in the bandwagon is as great as he did 25 years prior.
Right,
I
right,
think, or possibly even better.
right.
Yeah,
Well, if, like, Swing Time or Top Hat had been mu MJ musicals, I'm pretty sure we would've talked about
we
it.
would have been talking about that, and maybe I know we've kind of toyed around. Maybe we'll do one of those, those in the future.
And I know
Uh,
that, Astaire is, like, paired, like, 100% with Ginger Rogers, but I'd also like, Rita Hayworth as a dancer matching
yeah,
them is
yes.
Rita Hay maybe the most beautiful woman to ever, or one of the most beautiful women to ever exist. Not that Debbie Reynolds and, Sid Charisse aren't
Oh,
beautiful, but,
but
like,
absolutely, Rita Hayworth.
yeah, and she again, I think Ed Astaire said she was one of his favorite partners.
Yes. She
So,
was I thought that she's just a really good dancer in some of those movies, those musicals that Rita Hayworth was in.
mhm. You Were Never
Um,
Lovelier is a great one.
yes, yes. The you know the Hollywood musical and the MGM musical. It's, I think, definitely. I know we were talking about this off mic too, but if we call it a genre, I don't know if we necessarily call it a genre. I mean, clearly musicals are a genre, but just the subset of the MGM musical, I think, is definitely worth a deep dive for those people who are really into films and want to learn more
Mhm.
about film history. And there were so many other films, that you and I had kind of bantered about, and that we could,
Our lists
talk
were
about.
very different at the beginning.
Yeah, yeah, and so many different types of films to add. And again, not all of them are great, but wow, there's a lot of good ones, and I think it's definitely worth exploring uh, deeper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Darren, this has just been such a delight. Thank you again for joining me. Do you have any final words about MGM musicals that you'd like to share?
Well, they're an entity unto themselves, right? I mean, you can watch again, start with Broadway Melody, go all the way through Pennies from Heaven. There's definitely a story being told to how the filmmaking and how the ideals and how the aesthetics worked out and all the things that they tried, all the directors, all the Minellis and the Donans and everybody that they had work. You know what I mean. And George Sidney and all these
Yes.
other and Herbert Ross obviously trying to channel all that.
Yes, exactly. Channeling these great directors from the past. Yeah.
I always love looking at somebody's filmography from the beginning, so you see how they change and grow, and I think that's a fascinating thing to do. The other thing is, like, I had when you brought this topic up, I was like, "Heck yeah, I'll talk musicals." I don't wanna talk superhero movies all the time, you know what I mean? There's other movies out there, and
Yeah.
the sad thing about again, that's the thing. I think people are either afraid or they kinda look down on musicals, or they're like you look at Timothy Chalamet in Wonka. I think that's a very brave masculine performance because it takes a lot of bravery to be silly and to dance and to look
Yes.
vulnerable. And there's all that stuff is it like I don't think you'd ever see Fred Astaire beat anybody up in a fight, you know what I mean? But he's so graceful that it's like, why would you want to even fight this guy? It's like, look at
Right.
the magic he's doing. All the way down to Christopher Walken, who you're literally afraid of in a lot of his movies, but when he
Yes.
dances or
And
that with
Pennies from
music
Heaven.
video and stuff like that, it's like, oh, he's a joy. Like, there's nothing wrong with enjoying a musical. It's just sad that I can post something about a superhero movie and get like 20 or 50 reactions. And then I post something about a musical and I get maybe 1 or 2 people. It's like, is nobody watching musicals? Are you just afraid of different genres and not interested? And it's sad because there's so much fun out there to talk about that besides the regular stuff. I want to talk about musicals. I want to talk about horror movies. I want to talk about action movies. I want to talk about everything, Stanford. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
I don't get a lot of chances to talk about musicals. So I'm so grateful that you made me sit down and watch it.
Well, I appreciate your willingness to do it, and I always gain so many insights from you. So thank you for the things that you shared, and also for your willingness to watch some of these. Really, any one of my friends, I try to get them to watch The Bandwagon. So I really appreciate that, because I just think it's one of those movies that everybody hears about. You hear about Singing in the Rain.
Yeah, of course.
Even if you haven't watched it, I think you've heard about it.
Yep.
But The Bandwagon, I don't think is something that people necessarily know a lot about. But I think it's really worth watching, particularly if you've got a mind willing, if you're willing to give something else a try.
I love sorry to keep talking about it, but I love The Bandwagon because I love when you can instantly recognize that something's a favorite. The first time you see it, like, oh, I'm going to be watching this for a long time.
Yeah.
And the Bandwagon is an immediate top 10 favorite. I'm like, I can't believe I haven't seen this before. It's so great.
Thanks for trusting me, man, for watching it. I'm grateful. And thank you again for being on the podcast, Darin. It's always such a pleasure talking with you. Where can people find your content, Darin? Your wonderful content.
You're so funny because you always thank me, but I'm like, oh, I'm so thankful for you that you brought me on. And you're wonderful.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, you can find me just at DW Lundberg on Twitter. You can find me at dwlundberg.bsky.social on Blue Sky. I'm on Facebook. We're on YouTube. Check us out there. And so, yeah, just not a lot of talk about musicals and a lot of my other channels, but it's like that's what people like Stanford are for. And so I really appreciate that you exist, man.
Oh, thanks, Darin. Thanks so much for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Well, that does it for this episode of the Movies Past and Present podcast. Again, huge thanks to Darin Lundberg for joining me today. Subscribe to the podcast where you listen to podcasts, and follow me on Instagram. I'm at Stanford Clark. As always, I hope you will enjoy some good movies this week, whether they be from the past or the present. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, be safe out there and dedicate yourself to the truth.